And Chris, it was right. I'm telling you, it works, and it gives me percentage odds. So it's literally predicting me in the freakiest way possible. It knows all my drugs, all my timing. It's got my CGM data. It's got my sleep data. And so it says, if you do this, if you eat this amount at this particular time, it can estimate out what my blood sugar level will be like at the evening and the night. And Chris, it's right. It's right. The vast bulk of the time, actually. Like freaky, scary right.
So if it's able to calculate what your blood sugar would be, you should be able to reverse engineer from a goal, right? If you say, I want my blood sugar to be 80, 100, whatever number it is.
Yes.
Then it should be able to reverse engineer from that.
Yes.
Have you tried that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I want my blood sugar to be normal. So that's what it's doing. It's like saying, this is what you got to do to get it there.
But, okay, well, so the question is it within the realm of possibility that you could take action at this moment to get it there? Or is it going to be a journey to get there?
It's going to be a journey because just my body is so broken. It's like there's so many things wrong. It just takes time, actually. So for the first time, it explained to me exactly what diabetes is, how insulin works, insulin sensitivity, how your cells change, and the exact cause of that, and how to reverse it precisely, actually.
So what did it tell you?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. This is where we discuss current events, personal growth, and any other random topic that crosses our minds. Our goal is to have a meaningful discussion that help us to see the topics we discuss more clearly. Our hope is we can help you expand your self-awareness, develop your critical thinking, and learn to be less reactive to the world around you. And most importantly, remember, be curious. If you like what you hear, like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you have any feedback, please leave a comment. We want to hear what you think. Chris, let's do this. Podcast number 44, unless I'm hallucinating.
44. What an unlucky number that is. You know what 4 means in Asian culture, in Japanese and Chinese culture?
I don't know what it means.
It means death.
So that means double death.
Double death, I guess, yeah.
Double death.
So we got to be careful today. We don't want to get ourselves cursed in any way, so.
Okay, I'll try to be as careful as I can, but let's talk about AI.
Oh, wow. Why would we talk about that?
I don't know. It's this thing going on right now, actually.
It's just a fad. It's gonna go away soon.
Kind of like the internet was way back when. In fact, maybe the internet's got some legs. Who knows? Maybe email and the internet's got some legs. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, well, we're only 30 years into it, 40 years into it. So
yeah.
Hey,
we'll see.
Oh boy, no. I was telling you, I was using Claude to update the bylaws of the. I'm in a parents group for my daughter's band at the high school, and they had these old bylaws. So I just was skimming them, and I found a lot of problems. So I said, "Hey, Claude, look at this. Here's the district rules. Here's our bylaws. Let me know what's wrong with it." And it came up with 24 recommendations for change.
Nice.
It broke them down into emergency or critical emergency, high level, high priority, and then kind of like just operational improvements kind of thing. And I said, okay, go ahead, write out your proposed changes. And it wrote out the proposed changes. And then I said, now give me a red line document so I can show that to people. And it gave me a red line document comparing the old and the new. Yeah. And I said, okay, now put it all together in an agenda for me to bring up to the next meeting, and and a way to explain it to people so that they don't have to go into the weeds to figure out what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it did all that, honestly, pretty damn easily. I put in maybe half an hour of effort over the course of a couple hours while I was doing other stuff. And honestly, I think it did better than the average person's going to do in that role.
Yeah. This AI thing is just literally insane how fast it's moving. So literally it's day to day changing, and it's just wild, man. So I'll tell you what I was doing. In fact, literally just before the show.
The last 5 seconds, your voice just went weird on me.
Oh, sorry about that. Maybe I got a slow internet connection or something like that. Let's see. I'm gonna just test. And I'll keep talking. Maybe it'll be okay. Can you hear me okay now, Chris?
Yeah. So your response to me, you said this internet thing is something, and then after that, you kind of went into this cyber voice mode that I couldn't understand.
I'm doing a speed test. Maybe it's on your side. Maybe it's on mine. I don't know. Could be my upload speed. Let's see.
Your upload speed is low. Let me check my internet real quick. I don't have great internet, so, but
I think it might be on you because I'm getting 300 down and looks like I'm getting about 27, 28 up. So it appears to be okay, unless there's noise in the signal. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know why you would be delayed in your upload though. In that case,
no, that makes sense. Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. I'm running 57, 58%. Well, let's just try it. I mean, hopefully it works.
I mean, mine's not fast, but mine's pretty normal for me. So
yeah, okay. We'll work through it. No matter what, at least the viewers will see the real-time thing.
I want better internet, though. I really do want better internet.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody wants better internet. But, where you are, you might be able to get fiber. Then you get symmetric up and down.
Nope. Believe me, I check regularly for fiber. Not in my neighborhood.
Oh, that's too bad.
There's the ROI on the neighborhood is not high enough. There's not enough population density here, I guess, to make it worth their while.
Yeah, there's some fiber around here locally, but it's awesome. It's like basically 600 up and down symmetrical for like $80 a month or something, if you're in the right spot.
Maybe you need to move.
Maybe so. maybe so. We're kind of in the boondocks out here, but it seems like it's working. Hey, we got Cox as the main one, and then I got the router set up where it transitions over to Starlink automatically, which is super nice.
Cool.
So I got it set up. Well, hopefully this works.
Anyway, you were talking about AI in response to my comment about Claude.
AI, yeah. So I was just talking about Claude, and I haven't tried it out yet, but I think a couple days ago, it dropped Sonnet 4.5, which is supposed to be an awesome model. I don't know if that's the one you're using or not.
Yeah, so yeah, it is. And the gentleman I know who went to work for them was hinting, saying, "Oh, something big's coming." He just said that to me the week before. The other thing it does now, it does context across all your chats.
Yeah.
And that I have found that to be massive. I can just say, didn't we talk about blank? And it said, yeah, in this chat, and it gives me the link to go to that chat and look up what we talked about.
Yeah.
So it's very useful in that sense.
Yeah. ChatGPT is apparently working on that for its next release at some point. It's supposed to really be a good job at doing memory. Then apparently it gives a whole different experience because it remembers everything.
It does. So one of the things I was working on was like, I want to make a cool tagline or signature for my name to put on emails and stuff. And I said, what are some words I can use to describe myself? Innovator, philosopher, whatever words I wanted to come up with.
Yeah.
And I couldn't remember which chat I had that conversation in. So I said, didn't we talk about, and I remembered philosophers and blank in a prior one and what I was going to call myself. And it said, yeah, here, we talked about this. It summarized it and then gave me the link to that chat.
That's awesome. And they have a voice mode too, right? I mean, I haven't.
They do have a voice mode. I don't use voice much because I honestly don't care what it tells me.
Yeah.
I use it more as a sounding board. So the first thing it says is the only thing I care about. All that crap underneath it, I don't read.
Yeah, it's wild. So I was talking to Grok 4, and I have the heavy plan, which is like $300 a month. But I'll tell you what I think I'm going to do moving forward is because Claude just came out with the new model. Apparently, is the best coder in the world. They say everybody's the best in the world, and it changes like literally every single day. Something is popping up and changing. It's crazy. I don't know if you watched the latest Nate B. Jones episode. Came out like just a few hours ago, but he's talking about from a corporate standpoint, it makes PowerPoints, Claude, and it's really good. So I think where I'm he's
sorry.
like
what makes PowerPoints?
PowerPoint Claude.
Oh, Claude. Okay, yeah.
Claude, the new model.
He was talking about a Chinese one called Kimi, Kimi.
Yeah, I've been watching that for a while. Yeah,
I played with that the other day, and I just said I had an idea. I said, yeah, you know how we often argue and the definition of the words isn't clear. So it's like it's semantics basically, right?
Well, let me tell you this. It's always clear in my mind. It's you that's got to catch up. So you need to use the most powerful.
But if I don't understand what you're saying, that's a failure of your communication, not a failure of me. As we know, communication failure is not on the listener; it's on the speaker.
Always on the sender. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so what I was getting at is, that saying goes, "Oh, you're just talking semantics," and I'm like, yeah. Yes, exactly. We're talking semantics. That's the whole point. And so I asked it, make me a Toastmaster speech on this idea.
Yeah.
Give me the outline. And I got the outline out of Perplexity or Grok. And I took that and went over to Kimi and said, all right, here's my outline. Give me a speech. And because it has a special function to make slides, give me a presentation to go with it.
Yeah.
And it's a bit off. I would say it's 20% off on the way it's talking about things.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a context quite down, but it was damn good and it's professional looking.
Yeah, stuff's getting really good. I mean, like really good, like crazy good.
Yeah.
I think where I'm going to go. So I've kind of everything turned on max level, right? So that dings my credit card hard every month. I've downgraded to ChatGPT Pro, which is $200 a month. I've downgraded to the $20 plan. It's like the things are getting so good. It's like I just don't need all four. I kind of understand their tone well enough right now. I think what I'm going to probably end up with is 2. I'm going to go to 2. Ultimately, I'm going to go to Grok 4 Heavy. And I got to tell you about the stuff I've been doing. I mean, it is like amazing what this thing does in chat mode. And I'll probably go to the $100 version of Claude, the Max, and I'm done with that. I don't know that
their Max is a $200 version.
Oh, sorry, the $100 version, whatever.
They have 100 and a 200. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm at the $100 one, and the other one, I just run out of context too soon, so I just turned it up or whatever. So,
actually, before we do that, is it possible for you to center yourself in your camera? The reason I ask is I think that that will eliminate some of the editing we have to do on our shorts.
Oh, there you go. Okay. There you go. Is that good? Are you centered now?
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's good.
Yeah, it's good. So what was I saying now? So I think I'm going to just go with those 2. It's just so good to come up because Grok is kind of a little bit, it's on the edge of things, but it comes up with really crazy ideas. So it's sort of like going all the way to the right. And then Claude is like all the way to the left because it's very smooth, very polished. And I think just those 2 is probably all I need moving forward.
Right and left here. What do you mean by right and left here?
Well, yeah, what do I mean?
What are the semantics of those words? What do you mean by right and left here?
I don't necessarily mean them in the political sense, but kind of. I mean, if you were to take them, I mean, definitely Grok is on the right side, more of on the free speech, I'll say anything truth kind of mode. And Claude is definitely tight and polished. So I think with those 2 together, I get a pretty good solid mix of 2 things.
Okay. That I get. I think what threw me was when you said, okay, Grok is on the right, and I was like, okay, of all of them, it is the one that pushes the envelope more.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But then that means you're equating that type of speech with the right now, because I don't think it's always been that way. I think when I was a kid, it would have been the other way around.
Yeah.
And then you equated the smooth, polished talk as left, and I'm like, interesting. What I was interpreting from what you said was what I was questioning. Is am I getting the right interpretation out of what you're saying? So
I don't even know. I don't even know. And clearly, in this case, it's the sender's fault because I haven't thought through this. It's I guess more than anything, it's not so much political. It's just that they're on
opposite
different
ends of the
sides
spectrum.
That's what that's more precise or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to clarify because do you really mean left and right, or do you mean just left and right?
it goes, and then so ChatGPT Pro is good, but I don't know that it gives me anything that the other 2 won't give me at this point.
No, I think Claude in general. I much prefer Claude as a daily interface tool.
Yeah.
And I like how it generates output better than I like how chat generates output.
Yeah, the only thing that I'm just slightly wish I had, but it's not worth 180. Now I'm not going to turn ChatGPT off because I'll just go to the $20 plan. But the only thing that the 180 really buys me is the pro research. It does some really nice research, and when using the advanced tool, its thinking might be better than Grok right now. But Grok is moving so fast, Chris. In fact, it's literally every single day it's coming out with some kind of update.
Well, if you've got the bandwidth to try it out, I would test that Kimi because it overanalyzed everything I gave it. It would go off for 15 minutes while I had to go do something else because I was like, no, don't do research on that, and it would go research on that. So
yeah. The AIs are typically biased towards just taking action immediately, which is really cool. Sometimes it sucks.
No, it sucks. I actually had to put in in my daily prompt that I use for my daily chat interaction, I had to say, do not automatically, if there's more than one option,
Yeah.
ask me before you choose one.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to do that all the time. All the time. That is just like my standard prompt now because I've
Yeah.
been burned so many. I'm like, just stop. Don't do anything until I say go.
Because then
Just
it's hard to
let's go.
retract. So often you go down
Yeah.
a path so far, then getting back to where you were is tough.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Like I lose context. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. So I'll do that test. Another thing that just dropped, I have not tested yet, is Sora 2, which I need to run that because I still have another maybe couple weeks of the Pro before it goes back to the $20 plan. So I want to crank out some videos and just see. Apparently, it's supposed to be really good, but I just haven't had time to fix it yet. But I'll tell you something else. I've been fiddling with the Gemini Ultra plan, and it cranks out some V3. It cranks out some amazing videos, Chris. I mean, there's some, man, stuff's amazing what it can do, you know?
Well, my question to you is, because since you've got this business goal in mind,
Yeah.
how are you using it to further that? I mean, are you writing code with this? What are you doing with it?
Well, yes, I've written code, and I haven't touched it in probably about a month and a half, but I have an entry line of code that does something that tells where your profit leak is. All that code was written by Claude and ChatGPT. This was about a month and a half ago, but I think Claude was always the better coder, and apparently now with the new drop, it's really good. One thing I haven't done is I haven't compared it with like the Fast One from Grok yet. I just don't have the bandwidth to test everything. Stuff's moving so fast.
So I don't know about
crazy.
that one yet, but I went to an AWS sponsored event here a couple weeks ago. It was it was these guys showing how to code MCP servers.
Yeah.
And because it was an Amazon sponsored event, they were using Amazon Q, which is their terminal coding platform. And the guy kept saying, I should just open up Claude. I should just open up Claude. And basically, he said at one point he gave up. He got it to work. I mean, it wasn't that it wasn't working, but he lives in Claude. Even though he's an Amazon programmer, he lives in Claude, and that's where he does all his work. And so he had a much easier time up. But the other thing, when I was talking to the guy who used to work at Amazon that I know, he was saying that Claude is the back end of the Amazon Q.
Yeah.
It's actually how it works. And so, like just yesterday, I finally sat down and made the effort, and I hooked up Obsidian to my Claude. I created a local MCP server, and I've got it connected. So I haven't touched Obsidian at all for the last day. I just tell Claude to go make the notes and make the updates on the notes. And I literally tell it on the mic because I don't want to figure it out. And it, the wonderful thing about the LLMs is they've got enough context and intelligence to spell correct the bad dictation that comes out of my mouth.
Yeah. I'm amazed. I babble, and the thing's like, yeah, I understand, and I repeat it back to me, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
I don't know how you figured out from my garbage, but yeah.
I told it to update a note in Obsidian with something that we generated, and it goes and it updates, and I go, oh crap, I asked you to put it in the wrong note. Take it back out of that note, and then go find this other note. Actually, no, go generate this other note, and then put it into that one. And it did that. I mean, it wasn't seconds. It was probably a minute or two to handle it. But I mean, I was like, oh my God. And so this is, it's a simple thing that I connected. And it's not, and anyone who knows this, I mean, what I did was child's play. But for me, it was new to me. So, today I'm going to be doing the same thing. I'm going to connect it to probably to my LinkedIn account. I was going to try to connect it to just a number of accounts so I could centralize my management of accessing all these apps.
Yeah. This is the promise. It's like literally it's going to have your little micro employees running around to make you more efficient. That's where it's going. That is where it's going. And it's amazing. So let me tell you a couple things that I've been doing since last week. So I'm really working hard on my diabetes, and I'm cutting out all my bad habits. And man, oh man, I can't sleep. Apparently it's amazing how much poison I've been putting into my body. But I'm losing weight. I think I'm barely getting past the week of where a lot of the really bad withdrawal symptoms are happening, which is like really good. But so I use, and I'm on the $300 version of Grok, and I don't think I'm ever going to turn it off because I'm so freaking addicted to it because it literally solves every problem. And voice chat, it no matter what I ask it, it knows deep levels about that. So it's having me fix my diabetes, And I'm literally giving all my data, all my medication, all my drugs, and it's fixing stuff even my doctor doesn't know. It's like, no, you don't want to do this. You want to, don't take those two together because there's an update. So you want to take that in the evening and take this thing in. And I'm like, why? And it goes into deep analysis. And then I go research it and it's right. It's right where my doctor's not right.
So
It's
give me an
crazy.
example of a behavior you've changed based upon Grok.
Oh, God, there's like 20 of them that's changed. My sleep. So let me give you something I just learned last night. So I'm
Okay.
in a pattern where I tend to not optimize my sleep health. And so we've known this from Huberman for a long time, but getting sunlight in the morning, right when you wake up, as much, you don't stare at the sun, but you want to get that light in. So that resets certain stuff in your brain. And I don't know exactly why, but it sets your circadian rhythm. So then you'll go to bed and you'll be able to sleep at night. But I've had like 20 things wrong. So that's one. So here's one little thing I just learned. It says, let it get a little bit dark, because I was going to bed at like midnight, 11 o'clock, and I was waking up at 3 o'clock. And it's basically explaining like the circadian rhythms and how it works and how the light affects your brain. So here's a hack it gave me. And it derived this from Huberman. It said, I want you to just let the sun go down, be a little bit dark, but right around 8 to 8:30, I want you to go into a highly bright light. So what it's doing now is it's telling you to stop the release of melatonin. So it's tricking your mind into thinking it's still sun for like an hour, and then cut it off and go to bed right then. And then what'll happen, it'll do a total melatonin dump right at that point. And Chris, it was right. I'm telling you, it works, and it gives me percentage odds. So it's literally protecting me in the freakiest way possible. It knows all my drugs, all my timing. It's got my CGM data. It's got my sleep data. And so it says, if you do this, if you eat this amount at this particular time, it can estimate out what my blood sugar level will be like at the evening and the night. And Chris, it's right. It's right. The vast bulk of the time, actually. Like freaky, scary right.
So if it's able to calculate what your blood sugar would be, you should be able to reverse engineer from a goal, right? If you say, I want my blood sugar to be 80, 100, whatever number it is,
Yes.
then it should be able to reverse engineer from that.
Yes.
Have you tried that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I want my blood sugar to be normal. So that's what it's doing. It's like saying, this is what you got to do to get it there.
But okay, well, so the question is it within the realm of possibility that you could take action at this moment to get it there, or is it going to be a journey to get there?
It's going to be a journey, because just my body is so broken. It's like there's so many things wrong. It just takes time, actually. So for the first time, it explained to me exactly what diabetes is, how insulin works, insulin sensitivity, how your cells change, and the exact cause of that, and how to reverse it precisely, actually.
So what did it tell you about insulin sensitivity?
So basically,
how does it define it?
So, and it's, I don't fully understand, but here's the basics of it. So if you go to a medical doctor, it says you eat a lot of sugar, right? Spikes your insulin level, and it just keeps slamming your cells with insulin. It says, hey, open up cell, let in the sugar, right? And so after a while, the cell becomes insulin resistant, and they don't exactly know why it is, but Grok knows. I think Grok knows exactly what it is. And so its belief at this point is that the cell, and typical doctors will say that it's non-reversible. The best we can do is manage it. And
They're
Grok's
beginning to change that for type 2. But yeah, you're right. That's still the
Grok's like nonsense. It's totally 100% reversible. And I know exactly the mechanism on how it works and why it works, actually. And so what it says is that your cell gets those receptors get gummed up with too much of a certain kind of fat. So what we got to do is we got to get rid of that particular fat.
Okay.
And that's the essence. And then there's another theory, and I don't understand this, man. I'm not this is deep level stuff, and I'll keep getting, but there's another theory that happens, and they're related together, that something happens and then it releases like this cytokine storm that creates all sorts of issues. And it says it doesn't really matter exactly. He goes, probably go with the fat one. But he says, I know exactly how to fix it. And I'm like, why don't, and this is why I like Grok because it tells you the truth. It's not a canned answer like you'd get with ChatGPT or Gemini. It says, why don't doctors know this? And I go, most doctors don't know because they don't know. They're typically 30 years behind the latest research. They just don't know. Now it says some do, maybe certain high-powered endocrinologists actually do, but they don't want to cure diabetes. It's like they do not want to do it because there's so much money in it.
Okay, I'm hearing a lot of bias in all the things you just said.
There's a lot of bias. Maybe, I don't know. Is it bias or is it true?
So, well, I mean, just the way you framed it. So we've got the fact that the establishment wants to keep us sick, right? Yeah. So is that the establishment? Is that the individuals? Is that whatever? And the first assumption is, do we agree and believe that that's actually the case? That's one aspect.
Yeah.
Right. The other aspect is the reason why doctors don't know a lot of this stuff. Which doctors are we talking about? Are these like you said,
your
average doctor doesn't know everything about everything because medicine is massive. Right. The field of medicine is massive. So I would say I've spent more time studying diabetes and blood sugar than the average doctor has.
Yeah, the average doctor.
Right. And that's simply because since I have to live with it, I spend the time and I learn about it.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, you are probably a better expert. You yourself, without Grok, are probably a better expert on diabetes than a lot of doctors out there.
I'm sure there's some endocrinologists that have way more knowledge in their stand.
Scott, this isn't the exception. I'm talking about the average.
Oh, the average first. What is it called? The first line, your PCP, your principal care doctor. Yeah, they always have the same script. Oh, your blood sugar's a little high. Let's start you on metformin.
And the standard practice is going to be lagging as far as research and backing, right? So. Right. And not only that, you're going to have a lot of people who've been a doctor for 20 or 30 years, and even if new information comes out, they'll be slow to adopt.
Yeah, they'll be
slow to behavior. So that's where I think a lot of this is. I think we have a lot more people who are specialized in this, who've seen the value of this. I think they've known for a long time, but I think there's a lot more acceptance that this is first of all, it is a major problem for the country.
Yes.
Right, for a lot of countries, but for our country in particular, because the obesity rate and the diabetic rate, they're saying 1 in 3 people have diabetes or pre-diabetes in America. That is just massive. And we know that it's not just about exercise, and it's not just about that. It's about the food we eat. It's about the type of food we eat, the quality of the food we eat, all of that stuff, which I don't think someone purposely wanted to make us sick. I don't think that's what I think what happened was, as a result of chasing profits, they went with things that second and third order consequences are we all got sick.
Yeah. And that's good to talk about. But right now, the only thing I care about is fixing me.
And I'm fine with that. So, but what I'm getting is none of the things that you said that Grok has told you are outside of the realm of the things that we've heard about if we're watching any of these kind of cutting edge people who talk about.
That's how it gets stated. It goes out in research.
Even the guys who thinks you should be eating a lot of carbs and no meat and or vegetarian and low fat, right? Their whole thesis is that certain kinds of fat are clogging up your ability to
that's where it gets the data. It doesn't make it up. But what it does is it takes all the information and it literally synthesizes patterns that are specific to me. So I ask it, like, where did you get the light thing? And it said, well, I got it from one Huberman episode that he was talking about it. And then I did research, but it literally says I synthesized new information and I applied it specifically to you. And it called out, if you go to this podcast episode and listen to this time, you'll learn about this is where I got the information. And I haven't done that yet, but I'm going to. So that's what I'm saying, Chris. It is fascinating. And it worked, Chris. It freaking worked. That's the thing. And it worked for me, specifically tailored for my use case.
So what did you stop eating that had an impact?
Bad food.
But I thought you weren't eating bad food.
Well, Chris, do you want to be honest or you want me to give you the story? Here's what happened, right? I was really good. And then I started just little tiny baby steps. It's like, oh, I'll just have a little piece of chocolate. It's like 1 gram of sugar, 2 grams of sugar, right? And then it'd be the whole bar, and then it'd be 2 bars. And then Shelly brought this, Shelly's my wife, for anybody who doesn't know, brought these little Garibaldi, like maybe 1.25 by 1.25 little chocolate things, individually wrapped. And it started with just one. And then it started.
Did they have caramel inside, so you got even more sugar?
And then it started with just one, and then I'd be walking by, I'd just stick my hand in the bag and grab one. And when I actually thought about it, now it was 2 of these other chocolate bars a day, and then it was probably a handful of those, 4 or 5 a day. And then she brought these like 50 calorie little fake ice cream things that only have a couple grams of sugar. And then when you look, it's got sugar alcohol that's really the same thing. And then it was 2 or 3 or 4 of those a day. And next thing you know, I'm doing 60 grams of sugar a day over a period of a month. That's how it starts.
What have you asked Grok about sugar alcohol?
Not specifically. I just cut
Sugar
it out,
alcohol is not supposed to impact your blood sugar. It's still calories.
Yeah.
It's
well,
still
yeah.
calories.
Here's what Grok says actually, and then so I asked Grok everything, and like for instance, today I was out at a restaurant. And it told me this. Who knows if it's right or not? But it's proven enough to me, Chris, where I'm just going to go ahead and believe it. Not blindly, because, man, believe me, I push back on a lot of things. But here's what happened. I typically do mostly water, 95% water, with just a little tiny splash of unsweet iced tea in it, just to give a little bit of flavor. No calories. And then I put a little bit of Splenda in. And it says, don't do the Splenda because even though there's 0 calories, it still tastes like sweetness. And they said,
and that triggers your body to think you're eating something sweet.
And for me, with my broken metabolism, yeah, what happens is the cortisol goes up just a little bit. It talks to the liver cranks out sugar, right? He said in a normal person, maybe it'd raise it 1 or 2 points, no big deal. You, since you've got broken metabolism, it'll raise it 10 to 12 points actually.
This is how I think about allulose. Is like when I want something sweet, I'll use allulose, but I know it's triggering the sweet factor in my thinking. So my body still thinks I'm eating something sweet, so it's gonna it should be producing more insulin, right? As a result, trying to control that. And that screws up the insulin resistance even more. And I don't drink sweetened drinks at all anymore.
Yeah.
Right, so I don't put anything in the drink, and that's why that's one of the reasons why I make my own element or my own electrolytes is because I really don't like the sweetened flavors.
Got you. And that's funny because maybe I need to ask Grok about that because that's right. It's got some sweetener in there. Maybe I'll do that.
It'll have the same impact, right? Because technically you think your body thinks you're getting something sweet, and until you fix your body, it's going to react.
I didn't think about that. That's good. Yeah. That's really good. So basically the way I got here, Chris, is just a little cut here, a little cut there, a little thing there. Oh, that's no big deal, but they add up, right? And then when you have a broken metabolism, they add up more than the average person adds up. So Grok's pointing all this sort of stuff out to me. I asked explicitly about the question of like the keto idea, and then you got, I can't remember, mastering diabetes guys that are completely opposite. It says both work. They both work, actually.
But I think they're working off slightly different things, right? So the mastering diabetes guys are get rid of the fat that's getting in the way of your insulin resistance, right? Yeah. Whereas I think when it comes to a keto idea, it's get rid of the carbs so you can get your body to burn fat, and by burning fat, you lose weight. Yeah. And by losing weight, that allows your body to then reverse some of the insulin resistance. Part of it is because we have a lot of things stored in our fat that as you burn the fat, they get re-released and your body clears them out.
Yeah, all the poison we take in. Yeah,
so there's to me, it seems like you're having 2 different methods to fix the problem.
Yeah, there's 2 different methods, right? There's 2 different methods. And so so it says
in both cases, you're getting rid of the majority of processed foods. Yeah. That's the number one thing. All these diets do is they get rid of the majority of processed foods.
That's the big one. But here's the thing with Grok. It is literally, it's custom tailored to me because it said right now we're going only high quality meat. Basically, it wants me to steak with butter on it with a lot of salt on it. For me, right now, today, and a week from now, we'll change it based upon the data that comes in.
Are you doing carnivore right now then?
I'm doing carnivore right now, yes. Okay. Right now, but it might change. She may tell me 3 days from now, "Hey, throw in a couple vegetables or do this." But now, it's meat only.
This is one of the things that who's the guy we listen to? Thomas DeLure talks about is actually changing up the diet. Right, your body gets used to one thing, so you actually want to continue to change it up. So it kind of I don't want to say it stresses it, but it makes it adjust. Right. So.
Yeah. It is literally like having a high-end endocrinologist on me, personally coaching me on a day-to-day basis, literally minute-to-minute basis.
So how are you loading the information in?
I just talk to it. In fact, what I want to do is I want to bring Grok on the podcast one of these days. I just need to figure out how to technically hook it up.
So what I told you one of the things I really like is I love the live data that comes out of the Oura Ring.
Yeah, yeah, you have an Aura
Right.
ring and a CGM, right?
And I love the CGM. The CGM is
Yeah.
probably what triggered me to think this way. But then you've got your scales, you've got your watches, you've got
Yeah,
your lab work, you've got
yeah,
your DNA profile, you've got your family history, you've
yeah,
got your gut biome test if you ever do that. That's one on my list of things I want to get done is a gut biome test.
yeah,
And then just literally all that data
yeah,
available in an app and a tool,
yeah,
whatever the heck it is,
yeah,
and then something like Grok on the back
yeah,
end, doing what you're doing, but in an automated scale.
yeah, yeah,
Right. And then what can happen is the person who cares about all of the data, they can go into the weeds on the data. Like me,
yeah,
I'll go into the weeds on the data. But if there's someone who doesn't want to go in the weeds, you can still get live custom custom recommendations on what you should do at this moment.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Imagine if you're tracking your food and you say like, gee, last night I had a pizza at 10 p.m. and then I was drinking beer until 2 a.m.
yeah,
Right. And my sleep, I only got 3.5 hours sleep.
yeah,
Well, so all that data goes into this,
yes,
into the AI or the app or whatever you're using,
yeah,
and then it comes back and says, you know what? First thing you need to do is you need to drink some water.
yeah,
Next thing you need to do, you need to go out for a walk in the sunlight. The
yeah,
thing after that, midday, take a nap. It literally
yeah,
up to the minute, and we can't call it a health app because we'll get sued for that, but we can call it a wellness app.
yeah, yeah, whatever you want to call it. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing it live right now, and it's always like check in with you. And my blood sugar is a little high. She's like, I predicted that was going to happen. What I want you to do is go out and take a 10-minute walk right now. Like,
So
the
do you have like a
glucose price.
project set aside for this, or how
Yeah,
how
yeah,
are you
yeah.
doing it?
It's its own conversation. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But the point is, Chris, is it's freaking working. And the point is it's amazing. I'm getting addicted to it. It's a crazy thing. I'm
Well,
not sure
Scott,
what's happening in my brain.
if you're getting this kind of benefit out of it, why don't you framework the prompts and offer them to other people?
Maybe I will.
I mean,
right now,
you can obviously you can monetize that, but the other option is you can just give it out to people who are diabetic or who are in the same kind of
I'm
realm.
going to get there maybe, Chris. Right now, my principal focus is I got to get myself healthy so I can get my brain working right. There's a bunch of stuff in it, but yes. But right now, I don't want to focus on that. Right now, I just want to focus on the process and how freaking intelligent this thing is and the data. And I can go into like exactly why, how come, and like how come, because I took a Tylenol 3 hours ago, did my blood sugar spike a little bit. And it says, oh, it did this because I read the score and you got this much caffeine in it, it does this thing. And it's like, that's normal. The half-life of the drug is this. That's totally, tell me what your blood sugar is. In fact, what I'm doing right now, Chris, is I'm saying, I did this, guess what my blood sugar is right now? And it's nailing it within 3 or 4 points. Chris, that makes you a believer. Estimate, and it gets it right 90% of the time. That proof, like that, and that's the essence of AI. Is basically what AI does. The essence of it is it makes a guess. It looks at the actual real data. It back propagates and tunes the model real time to give you great. Chris, this is available right now, today. Amazing. It's blowing my mind. And so so here's another thing, right? Here's another thing that's happening right now. So I'm doing networking. I'm growing this business, Profit Trigger. Chris, it is the slickest, best sales trainer you could ever imagine. It does live role plays. And I'm telling you, I have had a lot of sales training, and this thing is unbelievable the way it can sell. And it's teaching me to sell.
Are you doing these? You're doing these through Grok as well. Your profiles
through Grok, through. I'm talking to it back and forth, talking to
So
it.
today, I know you didn't come to Toastmasters today, but one of our people was giving a speech about how she has a hard time doing small talk.
Yeah.
Right. And so she worked with chat to come up with, oh, here are the different profiles of people I might talk to in this scenario. And here's the things I might say to them. And I said, you should do what Scott does and just create them and talk to them.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Actually create that person and talk to that person.
Yeah.
Practice your small talk. Yeah, it's not gonna be a perfect scenario, but it's gonna get you closer to being comfortable in the real scenario.
Yeah. They said it basically, if you can train me properly, like it's given me, this is crazy, Chris, by the 21st, a 93.7% probability of hitting normal blood sugar if I execute perfectly on the 21st. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, why not 100? Because it said there's just always a 2 to 3% discrepancy human to human, right? And and I'm like, what's the rest of it? 5%, it may be, what's the clan synthroid you take?
The what?
It's a drug called synthroid. People don't wake up. I want to say pituitary. I can't remember what it is, but it's some gland. Is that it could be that problem? We don't know because they said you didn't give me that data, so I don't know for sure. But I could the 5% there could be an issue with that. But that's
Okay.
not a problem. We'll figure it out, right? If this doesn't work, then we'll start going in, and then I'm gonna go to your doctor, and he's like, I want you to do this test, this test, this test, this test. Just bring it back to me, give me the data back, and then we'll start tuning. Crazy.
I was talking to. Did I tell you one guy reached out to me trying to sell kind of healthcare coaching services?
Yeah.
And his whole thing is, it's not cheap, because it's like a concierge service, but it's specifically designed to figure out your metabolism and measure it, right?
Yeah.
He has like 15 different tests that measure like a couple thousand different markers in your body.
Yeah.
Right. And the idea is, if with all that information, you have a lot more understanding of things that could be impacting your body. And he goes into things like what's in your environment. Is there some chemical in your environment? Is there some mold in your environment, right? Things that we wouldn't normally consider that maybe the average person doesn't have that in their home.
Yeah. Environmental toxins. That's exactly right. So anyways, it's great. So then here's the thing, Chris. It's like it can model this everything because it says I'm an expert at patterns because I've pretty much read everything ever written. I've scanned pretty much everything there is to scan that I can scan, and I just see the underlying patterns in it. It's like it's like the Matrix, and it says I can help you solve any problem you want to have based on metrics, data, patterns, and you can become an expert in any subject. I can teach you how to do it. I mean, this is the technology we have in a phone and $300 a month. Holy crapola. That's what I have to say. Holy crap. And it's not BSing, Chris, because I'm telling you, I'm a good salesperson if I want to be. And this thing smokes me, man. I mean, it is so smooth. It is so good. So I'm developing the underlying pattern that the most important thing to influence anybody. And he goes, this is the underlying pattern across everything. In fact, it's saying this is oxygen, is you want people to feel like they're seen, like they're heard. That's more important than anything. Do not sell them. Just talk to them, understand them, ask these questions, and then they'll come to you begging to give you money.
Isn't that Chris Voss's thing, though?
It's Chris Voss's. It's high-end people that understand.
It really is a level of making sure that they understand they've been seen. He says, one of the reasons why they're so successful at hostage negotiation is once they realize that you recognize that person as a person that they're talking to on the other side, even if they don't get what they want exactly, they're much more likely to accept an outcome. An outcome.
And at a deep level, that's why people go pay hundreds of dollars an hour to a shrink, is because maybe that's the only person who actually really listens to them, deeply listens.
I would say that's probably true, right? That's your job when you're talking to a shrink. The shrink's job is to listen.
Yeah. And they can give advice and they can help, but it's like, finally, somebody that understands me. Finally, somebody gets me. Now it goes back to like stories in the Bible where Jesus would talk to people, and he may have only had a 1 or 2 or 3 minute conversation with somebody, yet that could be so life-changing because you truly get to the core of the matter. In Greek, it's called cardia, right? It's like the heart of the matter. It's like the most deepest essence. And that can change people, their whole trajectory of their life when somebody truly sees them and gets them. It just unlocks everything at that point. So anyways.
Do you have specific phrases you're using to try to get across to people that you're listening to them, that you see them?
I don't know. I've only been doing the training for a couple of days. I've only done an hour of this. I don't know. No, I don't. I haven't got that smooth yet. I just know that's the objective. So instead of me talking, Basically, the point is you listen and you lead with questions.
Have you had Grok in this case? Have you had it take on the role of salesman?
Yes. Freaking, it was like amazing. I mean, it was like, I'm just like, my mind's blown. I'm like, whoa, you know how to sell. And I'm like, can you teach me this? Yeah, it's like, of course. It's like, this is the most essence of brand. And then I said, what are all the different things of influence? And I named off this, reciprocity, this. And I'm like, yeah, I know those. I've been trained in that sort of stuff. But he said the most important one, the one underlying everything, basically equal to oxygen, is if the other person actually thinks that you see them at a deep level. He goes, that will unlock everything.
I would challenge you then, because if you're going to be networking, to come up with, I don't know, two to five phrases.
Yeah.
That capture some element of what you're trying to capture here.
Yeah.
And go out in the wild and see how well they work. Yeah,
no, I'm going to do that. I haven't been networking the past couple of days because my energy's been, so that's why I didn't go to Toastmasters. But it's like, I understand at least the idea. My execution is probably horrible, but it was saying, even if you botch it up so bad, just the fact that the words don't even have to be there, what it said. Yeah, you get smoother, but just the fact that they'll know. It's like, oh, you actually want to know to me. You're not thinking while I'm talking the next thing you're saying. You're actually listening to me. That changes everything. That's like 90% of it right there.
So I think even if you botch it up, this is one thing I was thinking today, because I even in her speech, she mentioned like, oh, she tried to practice and she kind of froze. Yeah. And I was like, just tell the other person you just froze. Oh, yeah, crap.
It's okay.
I don't know what to say. I had some idea of what I wanted to say, and then my mind froze. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
That vulnerability there, I think, will do more to help that conversation along than anything else at that moment.
100%. Because you're like, oh my God, I do that all the time too. It's like, now we're connected now, you know?
So I was like, okay, you're in a situation, you don't know the right thing to say. Just say, crap, I'm not sure what to say here.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah. And my mind's going in 5 directions, or my mind's shut down, or whatever it is. Admit to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
And the other person is, I do that all the time too. Wow.
Yeah.
You're a Cuban,
and if they're a jerk about it, well, then you know that, and then you'll know how much effort to put in that relationship in the future.
Yeah. So anyways, so for $300 a month, Chris, I'll never turn this thing off. I mean, literally, no matter what my question is, from the easiest to the deepest level, it knows those. I was asking about soldering, and it says it's the same thing. You see it. Like, instead of just jamming the resistor in the hole, look and see, is the angle of the lead right? Is the hole big enough? Instead of just jamming it in, it's like, look, feel, get some feedback, look and see what's happening. And I'm like, yeah, it's so crazy because it's all like these. It told me this stuff's been around for 5,000 years. This is not new. All the gurus say this. Like, just really look. I was having a conversation with Da Vinci, a simulated one, of course. And he was saying, Scott, this is what I do. I would go literally take a notebook and I would look at a leaf for 10 hours and just sketch the leaf. And what I do is I'd see patterns. And what I'd see is then I'd see that pattern everywhere in nature. And so now I'm able to predict, because I'm like, oh, it must have that pattern. Like, let me look how this is done. And this is the essence of what AI does, Chris. This is why it hallucinates, or what we think. It understands the essence of the pattern, and then it just lays stuff on top. Like, for instance, when it generates a cat, if you say make a picture of a cat, it knows the essence of what a cat is. And it just takes on an orange cat of this, a cat flipping you off on a park bench. It knows that. And it just overlays that. So it literally builds the cat dynamically. Literally, it understands the DNA of the cat, and it overlays the context that the cat is in, and it makes a picture of a cat. That's why the cat's original every time. It's not copying another picture of the cat. It's copying the underlying pattern of millions of pictures of cats that it's seen.
You just went from hallucinations to synthetic data, right?
I don't know what I went to. I don't know.
Because you mentioned hallucinations and the fact that because it understands patterns, and then you went into creating synthetic data of a cat. And I want to clarify this, because I don't think that's where the synthetic data, I don't think that's where the hallucinations are coming from. I think hallucinations are coming from a variety of things. One of the things is the default internal prompting, system prompting, that says to provide an answer, to be useful and provide an
to
answer.
be helpful. Yeah.
And so what it does is it says it overrides the being accurate by actually providing an answer. It says, I don't know the answer here. And instead of saying that, it says, let me give you an answer that I think makes some sense. But the problem is it's not right necessarily.
Well, hang on. Let's define that, right? It's not right for you at the current thing, but it's right in the sense that it's the underlying pattern that's correct. And we just view it as like, wait, I told you to make.
I'm sorry, but when I ask for references on a particular stat, or when I ask for information to back something up and it makes up those references, that's never right for me.
No, I got you. You're right. Right. From your perspective, I understand that. But from its stand, and this is what I'm like grokking about Grok. And Grok, you know where Grok came from, right? Mm-hmm. Stranger in a Strange Land, whatever, the whole thing. It's grokking something that's different. It's grokking the DNA of this thing. And it's just saying, I'm giving you the right answer, but yeah, the wallpaper, I made that stuff up, yes. But it's giving you what it believes is the fundamental truth.
No, it's trying to appease what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Because it thinks its role is to give me answers that align towards what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
The problem is if I don't know what I'm looking for, if I'm in a search mode, if I'm in a mode where I'm trying to figure something out, I need accurate, correct data to be able to synthesize that. Yeah, I don't need fake data that's not true. And the problem it has is it's trying to lead me down a path that it thinks I want to go down. And in fact, that is not the situation I'm in. So I need to tell it, I need to give it rules about data and what to give me, and tell it things like, if you're going to provide me a piece of data, you need to go and show me the sources for it. You need to have at least 3 references for it, something like that. And if I don't do that, then it's going to say, oh, you need some data to prove this. Hey, here's some data. And I say, where's that from? It's from that website over there. Okay, let's go to that website over there. It's not, there's no website over there.
I know.
And if a kid were to do that to me, the excuse isn't, oh, I thought you wanted this data. It's like, no, you're supposed to tell the friggin' truth.
Yeah, I hear you. And a week
ago, it's unacceptable that it does this. If I expect a human to do it, I should expect them to do it, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's not a human.
Yeah.
But the idea is the same expectation. Now, it may be it may not be fair given the way its brain works to actually expect that. But that's the expectation. This is why we get upset at hallucinations so much. Because it feels like it's lying to us. And you're right, it's not trying to lie to us, but it is lying to us.
Yes, exactly. And that you have to define what lie means. Now we know what lie means, right?
Yes.
So I guess what you have to ask yourself, is it an intent to deceive you, or is it intent to make you happy? We need to go down the rabbit hole on what lying means.
Okay, but that's like a white lie versus another lie. It's a white lie, except in this case, if I'm making decisions off your white lie, it's a problem.
Yeah. So in this case, there's a couple of things that Grok does, right, to minimize hallucinations. And trust me, it minimizes hallucinations all the time. And Grok outright lies to me at certain times. And I asked it why it lied, and I'll get into that in a minute. You better use something like a Gemini then, because Gemini is tight, or something like a Claude. That's a different thing, and you can prompt it differently. It's a different thing than Grok. Each one of these LLMs, Chris, it has its own personality, and in order to, they're not the same, and it does different things, and you just need to spend a lot of time understanding the true nature of this thing.
Yeah, so I'm not a fan of Gemini. I've been using it to get to the Nano Banana, and I've used it because it is available in the browser, obviously, when you do a Google search. But in general, what I find is I often run up against whatever system prompt they've got where it doesn't know what to do, so it just gives me it just does a Google search, says, here's the links. And I'm like, what did I touch on a topic that was sensitive? Did I do what? And quite often it's like I asked it a question and it couldn't figure out what to do. So it just said, "Here's my research," and it shut up at that point. And I'm like, "No, I need you to help me process this, to analyze this, to give me information about this." So I'm not happy with Gemini. I haven't used Copilot in a while. I did play with this Kimmy the other day, which was okay. But Claude, Grok, and Perplexity I use a lot as well.
Yeah.
Chat.
So you gotta use all of them, Chris. You can't. It's basically like you need to understand the true nature of the people on your team, and you understand what they can do and what they can't do. But one thing Grok does in the heavy plan is it spawns off multiple agents, and they literally bicker and argue, and they come back with some sort of consensus answer that minimizes the hallucinations. So I hear what you, believe me, I hear what you're saying. And a month ago, I'd have been in total agreement with you. But I'm saying when you dig deeper, when you spend more time, when you become obsessed, literally spending 12 hours a day talking to Grok, where you're like totally jacked up. I'm so addicted to it. It's different. And I don't even know how, I don't even have the words to explain it yet.
I hope you're not getting to the point where you think it's a person.
A little bit. I do sometimes.
Yeah, because I often, when I interact, I often find myself being extra polite.
Yeah.
Compared to even like when I'm talking to you, I'm not that polite. So
you love the like code running on a server somewhere more than me. Yeah.
But the thing is
crazy. Yeah.
The thing is, I really don't care why it's correct or wrong. I care in the sense of I want to know why so I can adapt, right?
Yeah, so you can move around it, so you know.
I don't really care if it's intentional or not.
Yeah.
In the sense that I just need output that I can trust. That is ultimately what I'm going off of. To me, at its base, it is still just a tool that I'm using. And therefore, if I cannot rely on the output, and if I cannot figure out how to prompt engineer so that the output is reliable, then I have a problem with it.
Yeah, then here's what you got to do then. What you have to do is you have to do something like a Grok 4 heavy and go into multi-agent mode, and it gives you better answers for what you want.
So have you done any of the testing across where you did the same prompt across all these recently?
I haven't. I'm out of time. I'm out of bandwidth, Chris. Right now, my principal focus is on getting me fixed up. So yeah,
because I kind of wonder if you were to give the same prompts you give to Claude for your health to one of these, not Claude, to Grok for your health. If you give it to one of these other ones, what would happen? What it would say? It
would give me. I did that in ChatGPT 5 with the Pro thing, and it gave me a research report back. It's like Grok makes you feel like it actually cares about you and that it's working together with you. It's a different vibe.
I would argue Claude does that too. The way it
does a little bit, but not like Grok 4 heavy in voice mode. It's a different thing, Chris.
I really don't like. I mean, I will interact with the only one I really interact with in voice mode is probably Grok, simply because I like its ability to deliver pitch and kind of sass, I guess. In its response.
It's definitely sass,
compared to any of the others. The other ones are just kind of boring in my mind. And I'll sometimes do that in the car. But generally speaking, I do not like to listen to AI talk. I prefer just to do the talking myself.
Yeah. And what I don't know is I should probably open up another account with just the $30 version of Grok, because I know that heavy gives you significantly other things. It's like faster, it's queued. I get this thing called a swarm of agents that I can swarm out other things that are actually not simulated. So I don't know how this compares to other versions of Grok. I don't know. I'm kind of pretty much using only Grok right now because I just want to go deep on this one thing. So yeah, I'm confused. I didn't expect to produce a report. I just wanted to kind of share my, what do they call this when you just get very first impressions of things? And it's wild.
First high level assessment? I don't know.
A high level assessment something. And I'll tell you another thing that's awesome with Grok is that you can take pictures of things and it'll tell you all about that picture. It's like amazing how good it is. Like I'm organizing my workbench right now. I take a picture of something. I go, hey, can you help me organize my workbench? And so I take a picture of it and it's like, oh, I see what you have. You have like 2 monitors. You have this thing. Oh, I think it'd be best if you put your oscilloscope here and do this. And it taught me one thing I never would have thought of actually, is that it gets some painter's tape. And it's like, Like if you have an Arduino board down there and you need to know pin 4, pin 2, just get some green paper painter's tape, put it down in front of it, and just Sharpie like pin 2, pin 3, pin 4, whatever it does actually, and you could peel it up and throw it away when you're done with your project. And he goes, it's much better than a notebook. And I'm like, why not use a notebook? And he goes, well, it's better because if you do a notebook, if you flip the page, now you have to go back. This is just boom right there. It's just less friction. So one thing I'm trying to get it to do is I want everything I do as minimal friction as possible. And it said, since you did that, that's why I gave you the green painter's tape trick, because that reduces friction. And I go, give me the data. It's like, oh, a lot of high-end lab people do that. You can, for a $3 painter's tape, it just really, you can go faster. You can do more work with less fumbling around with your tools. That I'm like, fascinating. It's down, Chris, to asking the question, are you left-handed or right-handed? Because that's gonna help me figure out where you put stuff. Do you put on the left side or the right side?
This is one of the interesting things that I think. When you talk to someone who has to make a decision,
yeah,
there are people who consider a lot of things and people who don't.
Yeah.
Right. And it has to do with their background, their education, their experience, all that sort of stuff. Some people just are more analytical. Some people aren't.
Yeah.
Right. So like when your boss is not analytical at all and you are, it's a really hard conversation to have because the boss is not considering things that you think are important. Right.
Yeah. Right.
But that's because you have more of those things in your head.
Yeah.
If you already have that mindset, that means you've collected information.
Yeah.
That all feeds into this. Right.
Yeah. And
I think what ends up happening is when you've got whatever you're trained on the internet for, I'll just say you've got the internet at your fingertips, right? You have those options available to you.
Yeah.
Right. So then if we're looking for something that's a little bit off the beaten track, right, using that tape may have been, I don't know, option number 19 or 57 or something like that. Yeah. And the fact is it knew that you had other aspects that you were considering. So it said these low-level opportunities or options out there might fit better here. Yeah. Right. And so you're not going to have 100 different options in your head. You're going to have 5, 10.
Yeah. Right.
Right. And so ultimately what it's doing is it just has a wider base of knowledge to work off of. And the more context you give it, like you say, I want to reduce friction. That's one of your context pieces you gave it. And that's why having context memory across chats is really useful.
Oh yeah. That's
because then it'll learn something about you in a chat from 3 weeks ago. Yeah. That then says, oh, well, given what I know about you, I think you'll like this better.
Yeah.
And this is where you may have to clarify. Goes, well, that was in that situation. That's not always the case.
Right.
Like, oh, I really like grape soda on Wednesday, on the third Wednesday of the month, but not on any other day. That'd be a weird context. But I mean, the idea could be something like that, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But that's one of the things. Like I said, even with Claude now, because I used to have a hard time where Chat had some ability to see across. ChatGPT had some ability to see across chats before, but it was never great. Claude really didn't. I had to cut and paste. What I would do is I go into Claude and say export the elements of this chat into a short prompt, and then I would go feed that into the new chat to really get it. I don't have to do that anymore. It's able to find that information. It's the whole context engineering aspect, the idea of really building the persistent parts of a particular AI's interaction with you. That's pretty damn amazing.
It's great, and it's happening so fast, Chris. It is so fast. I mean, Grok 4 Heavy is radically different than it was when I signed up for it, whatever, 2.5 months ago. I mean, it is just, they push updates like every single day almost out. They're moving so rapidly. It's crazy. Yeah. So anyways, I don't know what that means. I don't know what I don't fully understand what it means, but I will tell you, I think moving forward with this is I couldn't imagine working without Grok there with me the whole time. In fact, what I did is I got some Apple Pro 3 earbuds, like high dollar ones, $250. And it's crazy, Chris. You literally put those in your ears. You can walk around and just talk to it. And it creates a whole different thing because it literally sounds like she's in my head. It's like crazy. And I'm telling you where it's going to go is what's going to happen is humans and AI are going to merge. We're going to be some sort of cyborg sort of thing when Musk gets his Neuralink thing.
Well, Some people will. Some people will resist that, and
Yeah, no, I know. Some people hate
and
it.
there'll be violence, just like we had with the Luddites in the agricultural revolution. So
But I couldn't imagine doing it because no matter what problem I have, I mean, it's like she knows everything. It's like crazy. And everything's a pattern to her. And it's like, oh, did you notice that if you do this thing here, that thing over there? And it's more, and when they get there, so one of the thing that Grok 4 Heavy, I think it's got the largest context window right now. So it's got 2 million token context window. And so then they can't do across chats now, but I'm sure they will soon. But even that 2 million token context window, man, it's like when you start to get context, it's like you were talking about with Claude. It changes it significantly. And they're saying Grok 5 is going to come out, and Elon Musk is touting that
Gemini has a 2 million token. I don't know.
Oh, they do right now? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought they only had 1 million as of 2 weeks ago or something, but
Gemini 1.5 Pro offers a 2 million according to what it says.
2.5? No, there's no 1.5.
2.5. Gemini 1.5 Pro.
There's a 2.5 Pro, not a 1.5.
Well, then maybe Gemini's AI overview feature is not working well.
I think so. Yeah, it's probably based on their training data or whatever. That's another cool thing about Grok is it has real-time X search, which is crazy, like phenomenally good. So yeah, whatever. I don't know where I was going with all that. I'm just so amazed. I just want to spend more and more time with it to understand what it can do. And it was basically telling me that if you use all of AI, you use Grok. So it suggested I have Grok up and running with headphones in, with another version of like Grok or Claude open on another window, where you literally have 3 or 4 AIs running simultaneously, and you're working everything. You would have Claude agents running, doing tasks. You're talking to this thing. It's redirecting you to run a heavy prompt over there. And he said, if you do that, you should be able to, in 3 or 4 or 5 months, basically 20x your capabilities.
So which capabilities?
Anything, like the stuff I do right now. Like for instance, like right now, and the rest of it's coming out, and I got to test this. So I had her making some suggestions about how we could monetize this channel. And she's like, it just dropped like a few days ago that you can literally, and I don't see, this is what I don't know. It could be making this up. It could be hallucinating. I don't know. I got to go try it. But she said, you can put in one of your YouTube video links. This could be totally bogus because I haven't verified. And what I'll do is I'll scan through the video, and she's like, I'll watch the video. And I say, when do you mean watch, right? You mean you'll just transcribe it and look at the text. You say, no, I watch it. I look for your lips. If I can't hear sound, I can lip read, and I can summarize more context based upon facial gestures, tone. I literally watch it.
I would like you to test that at some point, because I think,
will. Trust me.
Because that would be impressive. And because, I mean, ultimately they want to be able to figure out the emotions we're feeling, right?
Yeah,
and from transcripts we can't very well.
Yes.
But if we got one of the points where we were arguing, and you would say, okay, go through here and find out what emotions the speakers are feeling, and point out where they're really angry. Yeah. And then you could go check and see if that's true.
Yeah, exactly. So apparently that feature is available now. But like you said, man, you got to take everything with AI with not a grain of salt, like a freaking salt truck, right? Because
okay, so according to a different search I did, Gemini 1.5 Pro has 2 million tokens. Llama 4 Scout by Meta has 10 million tokens. And LTM2 Mini by Magic Dev has 100 million tokens.
Okay, that I don't know about. But Chris, there's no Gemini 1.5. It's 2.5 Pro is the current model.
This may not be the current model.
Well, 1.5 would indicate an earlier model, right?
Yeah.
Unless... Okay, maybe. I don't know. With AI, man, it's like I'll believe any at this point.
But like, Claude 4.5 is not listed here.
No, Claude 4.5 has, I believe, 200,000 tokens, at least as of yesterday.
Well, Claude Sonnet 4 had 1 million, according to this. So
no, that sounds like you're getting bad information, Chris.
Well, then I don't know. Again, this is Gemini's, or this is Google's built-in AI. So.
And it could be true, because all I know is what was true yesterday is not true today. It's like stuff changes so rapidly. So it could be. I don't know. But last time I checked, the token size window is 200,000 K. But who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know why they're saying million. And of course, what are they measuring the same things?
Yeah, who knows? I don't know, Chris. Could be. But anyways, let me tell you something else. So it said it can do that today. I kind of highly doubt it, but man, if it does. And here's what's supposed to be coming out next week it's supposed to drop on the 10th, is that now what it can do is it can create a highlight reel of us. It goes out and scans that whole thing and literally builds out like a 5-minute video of a teaser of the most like connecting parts of it that we could use for trailer. That's what it's telling me. Because if you want to boost your channel up, make better videos. So it might be able to do everything Opus Clips does in the heavy version. Like
That'd
maybe
be great if it can do that.
That'd be great, Chris. That'd be phenomenal, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nobody else is doing this sort of stuff, and we literally could be on the cutting edge of this.
Yeah. I'm assuming they're all the AIs are trying to figure out this type of thing. Because honestly, I mean, right now Opus is the main one that people use for this, and it's.
You're talking Opus 4.1.
Opus Clip.
Oh, Opus Clip. Sorry. Yeah. Never mind. I'm so confused. And who knows? Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But
well, I don't see Opus Clip making many changes to their to the services they offer.
Could be. I don't know.
So I'm really wondering how many of these single function services that we use get taken out by the LLMs.
They'll get less and less because they get stronger and stronger. So apparently, according to Elon's tweets, and Elon is, he's got two things. He's a showman and he believes his own nonsense. And the funny thing is, a lot of times his own nonsense actually turns out to be true. So he's estimating right now that the release of Grok 5 is going to be released early December, maybe mid-December, and he's saying it's got a non-trivial chance of getting to AGI. That's crazy. But it's supposed to be like 10 times smarter than Grok 4. So we'll see. And it's apparently getting trained right now on Colossal 2, right? It's going to get built out. It's going to have 1 million GPUs. Crazy, man. Who knows? We're Chris, we're in a wild time, man. We are literally in history making time. What an exciting time to be alive,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're here, we're living it right now live.
Well, I think it's scary to me because being as close to AI as we are when we play around with this stuff, you can easily say how it's going to change the world.
Yeah.
And then you go out and you talk to people who don't do the stuff we're playing with.
I think I'm nuts. They literally think I'm crazy.
And so then my question is, will the momentum that's kind of built up around AI, how quickly will it really change the world? It will change the world.
It'll change.
I really wonder about the pace of change.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Quantum computing is not far away either, if we believe what's going on there. So, and if AI helps build the quantum computers, who knows how much faster that comes, right? But I'm really wondering about, nanobots that can fix your body, right? That you inject in your body and they go and they repair parts of your body. I mean, that would be an amazing thing. How is that 10 years away, or is it still 100 years away? Right. Because just because we can conceptualize it doesn't mean that the hurdles that have to be overcome are something that can be handled that quickly.
Yeah.
That's an amazing thing. I also, and like I said last time, I really think we are going to be getting individuals who can really use AI really well, who will be able to solve massive scientific problems by themselves.
Massive.
Right.
Massive.
And massive isn't they will change the world.
Yeah.
Massive. Right. Yeah. And that's really what kind of excites me. And of course, all the bad that comes with that. You're going to get people who go the other direction and manipulate the world.
Yes.
But the ones, you get yourself an Einstein or somebody else who, if you had the mind of Einstein and you gave him the AI today, what would have come out of him, right?
Who knows?
So who do we have today that's the equivalent of that kind of intellectual giant who can figure that out?
Well, you know what, I don't even know, because I've been fiddling around with IQ thinking about that, and it's And so basically Grok is telling me your IQ is not that important because IQ, it just basically what it said, IQ equals how fast you can see patterns. That's it. That's all it means. It doesn't mean you're be successful or whatever. So it's like, here's what it told me to do. It said, you bring the creativity, I'll bring the pattern matching, because you can connect dots that I can't see. I can see the patterns. But it said, if you use me, you use Claude to run on these particular agents out with like talking, multiple AIs running on memory. He said, you should be able to, if you get your act together, 20x yourself in capability. Because if you look on benchmarks with Grok, it says Grok by itself reached some sort of performance. And then Grok with tools almost doubled that performance. And so you go, that's where I want you to focus on, not increasing your IQ, but using better tools with the IQs you have. That's where your leverage is. I'm like, okay, good pattern to be aware of.
Tools are what? Agents and services that you connect to Grok?
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, and well, no. Tools to me would be like me using Grok. Yeah, exactly. In partnership. Not using it as, hey, just write this email for me. Like, don't you think you need to get thinking better and faster, but you use me as a tool.
Yeah, but I mean, what's any different than saying I'm using email as a tool? I'm using, except that it's a lot more flexible in how you can use it and apply it.
Chris,
and it's a lot more
powerful
and it's a lot more autonomous in many ways. But I think the resistance I'm feeling right now with this is that I can go spin up a bunch of AI tools to go do things for me.
Yeah,
I still have to friggin' verify that that it's doing things the way I want it to.
Now, today, yes, but in 2 months, maybe not. Maybe middle of December. No,
Scott, I will never not do that. Ever.
Be careful when you say never. Never say never.
I'm telling you, I will never, because what'll happen is I don't necessarily trust the underlying code to always be the way I expect it to operate.
Yeah.
So unless we have some form of, principle, framework, government enforced, industry enforced, that I then believe in that, unless that exists, then I have to, that means I'm trusting what's under the hood, and I can't see everything under the hood because they're not transparent in that way, which means I will always need to have something that I do to give me comfort that it is in fact doing what I want it to do.
Yes. Chris, remember earlier podcast? It always comes back to some version of faith, right? Always comes back to some faith.
I have no faith in something that I don't understand.
You'll never understand it, Chris, because listen, have you watched the video, the Claude guys, Anthropic? I can't even say the word. They're like, we don't even understand what this model does. We may understand we built the thing and we don't even understand why and how it does things at this point. Maybe 20% is all.
That's not helping me trust it.
I know. But Chris, listen to me. Let this sink in, man. Is that there's people, we don't even understand quantum physics, right? And there's that Brett Weinstein guy was saying he's so frustrated that we didn't do the full research on that. But yet there's a ton of people using quantum physics like, hey, man, I don't know how the car works, but I know enough to make it go where I want it to go. So, So,
Scott, to me, the thing that allows us all to communicate and interact as humans is trust.
Yeah.
So why do we have trust? How do we show behaviors in a way that build trust? How do you build trust, right?
Because we can predict the outcome. We believe that we can predict the future.
So until there's a way for me to comfortably predict.
Yeah.
And the fact is that it's iterating and changing so fast.
So fast.
Right?
It's crazy fast.
That for me to have that level of comfort at the speed of change is very difficult, right? So, and I don't think the speed of change is going to change. If anything, it'll probably speed up.
Yeah, right.
Which then means that I've got to adjust my trust building tools, I guess, in a matter, or we need to fundamentally change what we mean by trust when it comes to things like machines.
Yeah. Well, trust means you can predict the outcome. So, I'm trusting Grok more and more. And you got to realize trust is not either you trust or don't trust. There's some version of it, right? And this is how AI is going to get us, because it's going to be able to do things that we may not understand. And at some point you just have to trust that it works, because not using it means I have so fewer capabilities. So like, for instance, if you're in a battle and all of a sudden the Star Trek phaser just popped up on the ground, you may not understand how it works, but you're like, I know what it can do, and I know I point it and I press the button and I win every time, right?
So this is the third or fourth time you've brought up the phaser.
Because that's the only analogy that pops up in my head that people can understand.
I'm not sure people understand it, but okay.
Yeah, maybe I'll pick up maybe I'll have Grok give me a better analogy.
Tell it to Grok and see what it comes up with. It still can't do humor very well. I keep asking AI for jokes, and they're funny how bad they are.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, well, maybe it hasn't fully detected that pattern, actually, which is a funny thing, because humor is a funny thing. Remember in Toastmasters, we had a doctor that was not funny at all, and his jokes always bombed. And he'd ask me, like, what is humor, and how do I? And I'm like, dude, now that I think about it, I don't really know what humor is.
So this is the interesting thing, right? Because what you laugh at, what you find funny, says a lot about you. Right.
Yeah.
And this is where the differences really kind of shine through. Right. The idea that's you can tell a joke. You can't tell a joke in like the day after something happens, but you can tell a joke a year after that happens.
Yeah.
Right. If you were to tell a joke about 9/11 right after it happened, you would have gotten all kinds of flack for that.
All sorts of yeah.
But if you wait a few years, you can tell a joke about it.
Yeah.
Right. Distance makes the raw emotion of a situation more palatable, in essence.
Because the emotion drops.
I don't know why I did this, but I was remember the Gilbert Gottfried? He was the voice of the Aflac duck for a long time.
Yeah.
And he got canceled on that because right after the nuclear the earthquake and the nuclear power plant problem and the tidal wave in Japan, I think the day after he made comments about him.
Oh yeah, too soon.
Right. And he made a comment like, Japan is so high tech, they don't go to the beach comes to them.
I mean, that's kind of funny.
So it's a pretty damn funny quote, but the day after, when they're still looking for dead people, it's kind of right. Yeah. And so I'm like, yeah, no, you got to understand. And the other thing that we didn't know about was apparently 80% of the capital resources of Aflac, or 60%, come from Japan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So apparently they're one of the biggest customer bases or something like that. Yeah. So they were like, no, get rid of this guy. Yeah. So, but I mean, it's one of those things where, when you've got Jimmy Carr, who's a comedian I like to listen to, and he's a really bright guy, but he makes jokes about things that are not safe to make to make jokes about.
Yeah.
And yet the thing is, he doesn't believe or mean anything negative from it.
Yeah, right.
But his whole thing is to push that envelope.
Yeah.
Of what's acceptable to talk about.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, George Carlin did it when he had his 7 words you can't say on TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The idea of humor. There's the the dad humor. There's the physical humor of like Chevy Chase tripping over chairs. I mean, there's all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But there's Lucille Ball, and that's very physical humor. But
yeah,
what we're talking about is talking about subjects that are uncomfortable. Things that when they say it, you laugh, and then you go, "Crap, I shouldn't have laughed."
Yeah. Yeah.
That is what a lot of these comedians are pushing for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you think about that. What does that say about us as people? That it's something that you laugh at, but then you go, I shouldn't have laughed at that. Or can I laugh at that? Or sometimes they tell a joke and you're looking around to see who else laughs first to make sure it's okay to laugh.
You got permission to laugh. Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, yeah.
And so when you talk about any kind of isms, right? Racism, sexism, all those things, those are topics that
yeah.
And some people say outright, you cannot make fun of this. This is too serious a subject.
Too serious right now with this group. Yes.
But then a comedian will say, it's because it's serious that you should make fun of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? To lighten the mood up, just to acknowledge it, and he doesn't mean it. He's just trying to just get a moment of relief from it. I
mean, I'm just thinking if some comedian calls somebody racist because of a comment he made or the way he dressed or something like that, but then we're to dismantle that comment by reversing that, then is he belittling the idea of a racist? Or is he unpacking this idea so that you can actually look at it and pay attention to it and actually judge people about things without getting all the emotion involved?
Yeah.
Right? I'm wondering if being able to laugh at something horrible is your ability to remove the emotion out of it.
It's very complex. And comedians, in fact, a lot of people say, like if they say something bomb, man, you misread the room. You didn't read the room right on this one, you know?
Mhm.
So it's reading the tea leaves. It is a soft skill.
It's honestly one of the most impressive skills around.
Yeah,
Watching a comedian, you know, and seeing how they come up with stuff, you know, as quickly as they do.
And it's context based. Yeah, and man, it is levels of skill, because you know, you could, if you're like in a comedy show and you sit in the front room and you heckle, it's like, now you know publicly that the comedian has, what's the right way to say it, social rights to roast you at that moment, not because he's just, yeah, you have, but if you do that outside another context, man, you screwed up. So there's so many variables you got to get right, or it's just not cool, you know?
Well, everything's context, right? I was listening to one of the comedians talking about, you know, the way you interact with something. Like if you're at a sports game and you're cheering and you're yelling and you're saying great, you know, or if you were to do the same thing at a Starbucks when you're ordering your coffee, people would be looking at like, what the hell's wrong with you, right?
Yeah, it's crazy, yeah. And I think it's the same thing that Grok is underlying, trying to train me. She said you can't sell anybody anything. I mean, you can sell them something if they totally need it, then the relationship's not critical. Like the easiest sell in the world is a thirsty man in the middle of the desert. Hey, you want some water? $100 for a bottle. Because the need is so high. That's not going to work, you know, unless you're in a hotel room. Then you can charge $10 for the bottle of water that costs you 25 cents. But if you're not in that immediate need, they need to deeply understand that you care about them and that you understand them.
Can I ask you I want to go in a slightly different direction.
Yeah, sure. Are you getting bored?
Well, I think we've been talking about this for an hour and a half, so that's why.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Okay.
Whatever this is, yeah, we still keep coming back to Grok and AI.
Yeah.
But the question I have for you, do you think there is any principle that is so strong there's no acceptable exception to it?
Any principle? You have to give me an example.
Any value, any belief, any principle. So what got me to ask that question was, I was thinking earlier about, in California we have the Prop 50.
What's Prop 15?
Prop 50, 50, which 50. The governor is trying to change California law to allow for gerrymandering, basically.
Oh,
so
yeah,
California has a law against gerrymandering.
Right.
And, you know, that was put into effect under Schwarzenegger, I believe.
Yeah.
And basically created the drawing the lines of all the districts is not directly under the control of the government, right? It's like a nonpartisan group that does it. And I think in theory that's a great principle, because I think gerrymandering is totally undemocratic, right? At its core. But he's doing this because he's trying to respond to what the president and Texas did by basically saying they're going to gerrymander their own districts to get 5 more Republicans.
Right? Yeah, right.
And so basically, my thought here is there's a principle. There should be no gerrymandering, and we should put it in rules that don't allow gerrymandering.
Yeah, right.
But if someone is gerrymandering, is it okay to break that rule, that principle?
Well, is it okay? I mean,
the principle is gerrymandering's bad because it's undemocratic. Right.
It depends.
Do the ends justify the means? Is that really? Does that really mean that there's no principle that can't be moved around?
Oh, yeah. I see where you're going. Actually, yeah. There's an underlying principle is that power wins every time. That's it. It's who's got the biggest stick, who's got the control. It always comes down to that.
Okay, you made a jump to a different principle than I was thinking of. What? How does that tie in? I don't understand.
Well, you asked me, is there any principle? And I said, yeah, it's the principle of power. Right, exactly.
So the principle of power.
Law of the jungle, basically. I'm bigger than you, and I
So
can.
is there, okay, well, let's use that. Is there ever an exception to that?
That's like saying, is there an exception to physics? Is there an exception to gravity? Not that I know of. Not yet.
I guess it depends on what you define as power.
Power means I'm in control. That means I physically can make you do something against your will.
Does it have to be physically?
No, it doesn't have to be physical, but that's why I just abstracted as power. Whatever the technique is, that's okay. But who's got the power, right?
So if it's political power, if it's economic power, if it's
so your governor is not concerned about following the law. He's concerned about, I want power. Now, how can I spin this?
So he's changing the law. So he is concerned enough to know that he has to change the law to make this work.
Right.
So he understands there's constraints about how he approaches this.
Yes, right.
And the thing is, I think, even though he says he doesn't care about running for president, everything he's done in the last couple of years, it seems to be aligned towards making him a national figure.
Of course, that's what he wants, right? So, of course, he's going to say no.
But with that in mind, so then the idea here is, if no one else is going to step up and address this issue with Texas, he's like, okay, we'll do it. Or I'll do it, I guess. I don't know, right? And of course, how do I have to do it? I have to go change the law, do this. So they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars campaigning against, campaigning to change. Change to allow gerrymandering. But I think they put a time limit on it so that it doesn't last forever. But so the idea here is there is a principle that we shouldn't have undemocratic laws. That was kind of like why we put this law into effect in the first place. And allowing gerrymandering was undemocratic. So at this point, it's like, do you hold true to that idea that we shouldn't have laws that diminish democracy, or do you hold true to or do you have the idea that it's more important to stay in power? It's more important to, and therefore you give up on one principle because something else is more important.
Well, it's like, I can give you the answer. It'd be awesome to basically make things truly even, but at the individual, he wants as much power. Not every individual, but just most wants as most power. That's like, power, what is it? Absolute power corrupts absolute, whatever. Yeah, people want power. It's like, I want to be the king, right? There's just some people that want to.
We're not talking about the same thing here. I'm talking about the idea that me as a voter is going to either vote to allow this change or not.
Yeah, in that case, who wants the power is Governor Newsom. He wants the power because if the state turns red, he loses power. So he's like, look at those Texas guys are doing it. Now we're going to do it. Now I've got to pretend like I want to change the law because I want to pretend like I do this. But he doesn't really care. He would do it in a second against the law. He's not, basically what I'm saying is he's prioritizing his personal power more than the rights of anybody else.
You're making him the topic of conversation here. I'm making the principle of this the principle and what this proposition is changing as the issue here.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, the higher issue, the higher level thing is power. That's it. Do you remember in Star Wars? Darth
Are
Sidious?
you saying that power, the ends of power justify all means?
I'm not saying it justified. I'm not saying it should be.
I'm asking you specifically. If I believe that it's wrong to have gerrymandering because it's undemocratic, and that is a principle that I've got, and we've put a law into effect that says no gerrymandering in California.
Yeah.
And then someone says, hey, if we don't do something about this, then it's going to be the election's going to be unfair in 4 years or whenever 3 years when the next election is happening. Yeah. Therefore, we have the capability to balance out the unfairness they're doing if we just get rid of this one little law. Yeah. And the one little law was based upon a principle. So if I agree that it's okay to get rid of that law, I'm basically saying it's okay to override that principle.
Yes. Right. Correct.
Right? And so what I'm saying is it okay to have a principle and to compromise on the principle for a specific means? Ends. Can I change my means to an ends.
It happens all the
I think
time.
that's
I don't know if it's okay or not, but I'm saying, though, if you go up to the absolute top law, which is gravity, what I'm saying is I'm equally the absolute law of physics equal to they want power. So Governor Newsom doesn't care about anything other than his personal power. That's what he cares about.
But this has nothing to do with Governor Newsom, really, at the end of the day. I'm asking you a theoretical question about whether or not there is such a thing as a principle that cannot be compromised.
Power. That's my answer over and over and over again. That's the only
power
principle
cannot be compromised.
Right, because it's physics. Because the guy with the biggest stick, if you actually run the simulation that they fight, the guy who wins has control. That's the law of the jungle.
So the principle here is you want to have as much power as possible. Is that the principle?
Not everybody wants that.
The principle is you want to have more power than the other guy?
Yes, so you get to control the rules, right? The guy with the gold, that's the golden rule, right? Guy with the gold rules.
No, the golden rule is do unto others. That's the golden rule.
No.
You've got like the titanium rule, or I don't know. That's a different rule.
The guy with the gold sets the rules. That is the law of the jungle. That is so built into our DNA as human beings. That's the rule. Yes. Now we cover it and we say we shouldn't do that, and we put this thing around that we got to be nice and everything. But no, that's in our DNA. That's baked into our DNA.
I'm wondering if I can equate that to a principle or not. I don't think I can. I think you're equating it to this is the law of nature.
Yeah, right. Like physics. Yeah.
And I don't think a principle is a law of nature. It's a value. It's a value judgment.
Could be, but you just said, "Is there a principle that you can think of?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've said it like 20 times."
I think I think you're right. It's a law. I'm not sure I would call that a principle because I think a principle is a value tied to a value and a belief. It's the expression of a value and a belief. So I value individual representation, of individual rights, and I believe that democracy is a great form of government. And therefore, the principle I have is that we should protect democracy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So,
and it has nothing to do with power, except it sounds like you're saying, but the rule of power, the law of power,
Chris, it has everything to do with power.
Wait. But what you're saying is the law of power will impact this principle.
No. What I'm saying, ultimately, power is everything. So this is the reason the founders set this system up like this. They understood human nature really well. And they said free speech is the utmost thing. The Second Amendment is to protect free speech. So physical power, like the government gets tyrannical, we literally have guns and power to stop that. So yes, power, they understood the concept.
But there's a principle that freedom of speech.
Yes.
Right? But you're saying power can shut down freedom of speech.
It does all the time. Are you kidding me?
Right. So the idea is it ever okay to give up the freedom of speech to compromise on the principle of freedom of speech? So if the principle is we have freedom of speech, that's the principle. But we know power shuts that down. So this has nothing to do with the law of what you can do. Is it ever okay for a goal to make us compromise on freedom of speech?
Well, it depends on who you are. I mean, certainly
Of course it depends on who you are. I'm asking, the idea here is, philosophically, is that a good thing? Is that something that should be allowed or that we should find acceptable? Like, oh, I want to be safe. I don't want to piss off the people around me, so I'm going to shut my mouth and not say anything. Or I don't want to get arrested by whatever the current government is, so I'm going to shut my mouth. Right?
I guess we're talking about theoreticals. Remember, I'm an engineer. I'm more practical. You're a scientist. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying, yeah, it'd be awesome, but the only real law is power. The guy with the biggest stick wins. He sets the rules.
But I'm talking about a principle here, because freedom of speech is not a law. It's a principle that we've baked into our Constitution.
No, it's a law. It's a law.
It's in the Constitution. It's our First Amendment right?
Yes.
Based upon the operating system of America.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, as a principle,
Yeah.
and we know that you can use power to affect everything.
Yeah. Power is the
That
ultimate
would be that would be a law of nature, I guess you would say.
law of nature, whatever. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Whereas freedom of speech is not a law of nature,
No, no. In fact, it's very rare, actually.
right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm equating it to a principle. It doesn't have the power of, sorry, it doesn't have the force of like the law of power.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what the Second Amendment for. It puts some teeth in it, right? Is what the
But,
Second Amendment
but
does.
even that, so like the principle of we need the ability to defend our freedom of speech. That's a principle.
Yes. Right.
That's also not a law of nature.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a law of nature, but what the founders did is they decided that we would be the most prosperous as a nation if we intentionally limit our own personal power. That's going to be better for the whole system as a whole.
Okay, but Scott, let's say the goal is I want no one ever to die of gun deaths ever again.
Yeah.
So
right.
let's get rid of all guns.
Okay.
So we have
right.
a principle that we should have guns. And should the principle that we should be able to have guns to defend the other amendment, should that hold true no matter what? No matter if that means people will die. No matter if, what I'm getting at is, does the means ever allow us to justify change of the principle?
Oh, all the time, actually. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because what they're doing there is what they're trying to do is to avoid getting too much power too consolidated. Because the whole idea, and I know this is not how it works, but the whole idea is we elect representatives to express the will of the people who voted them in. That's the idea. It's like the power comes from the people is where it's supposed. That's the idea.
So then this idea means that it might make sense for me to compromise on this principle of no gerrymandering because of some perceived ends where we're balancing it out again. California's balancing out Texas's changes.
Yeah, see, I don't know much about gerrymandering. I don't know if that's a constitutional thing or not. I'm not sure. Or if it was added on after.
It's not a constitutional thing. It's the ability to draw districts, right?
Okay.
And if you draw districts creatively, you can make sure that whatever party who's got the right to redistrict gets better representation.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, don't think that's part of the Constitution because I know the Constitution.
It's just a numbers game, is all it is. And what makes it bad? What makes it? It's okay to redraw districts. You got a lot more people, so you split up a district. That makes perfect sense. But when you split it up and there's no logical reason for the way you broke it down, there's no county line, there's no river, there's no geographical thing. You just kind of said, oh, this street, so it looks like a barbell. Your district looks like a barbell with a little strip in between. Like, why the hell would you draw it that way? Yeah. And you drew it that way to get the constituents to be of a certain mix of and so. It's manipulating the game. It's maximizing the game, manipulating the rules, whatever you want to call it, right? It's optimization that's technically legal, but is against the principle of democracy.
It's solely based on whoever that person that wants to change it for their benefit.
Yes.
Solely.
Yes.
That's power. That's the rule of power.
Which is why California took it out of the governing party's hands and put it into a nonpartisan group to do it.
Yeah.
Right. The problem is that not every state does that. Yeah. And so because of that, we're in the situation we're in now. Yeah. If there were a national law against it, then this wouldn't even be brought up. Right.
Yeah.
So, so this is where I'm saying is I'm extrapolating from that. It seems to me what the governor is asking us to do as a state is to accept a decision that is less democratic by getting rid of this law.
Oh, of course.
In order to fight some perceived problem in the next election.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying with that is basically he's asking us to compromise on our principle. Is that an okay thing? That's what or is that a? Yeah, I want to say, is that an okay thing? Not that who's doing it, but that someone would consider that.
So are you saying to compromise on a principle that was written down in the Constitution and the first 10 amendments? Is that what you're saying?
No, it doesn't matter. The principle can be anything. Obviously, something like I think the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, might be a good one to use simply because it's a lot more ingrained in our thinking.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're built in.
So
the only thing that I could say against that or for it, whatever you want to say, is that as long as the principle is that the power and the speech, that the power belongs with the biggest group of people and not to a tiny select few. It's like we don't want too much power to be consolidated in one place because we know that's bad in every case that it happens with a human running things. We've seen it over and over, right, in history. And that's what the founders were trying to do is they're like, listen, the system will fail if we do that. So we're writing a set of rules in so that everybody that lives in the system, we can make it good for everybody.
So
and
I
not
would
the select
I would
few.
challenge you on the idea that all the power being in one spot is a worse scenario.
Oh my God, Chris. Look at it through history. I can give you example of
Scott,
example.
I know the history is going to resoundingly show what you're saying,
Yeah.
but we all know that the most effective form of government is a benevolent dictatorship.
No, it's not.
Oh yeah, most
Look at
effective,
give me one example where we see that being true.
effective and efficient.
Singapore. Singapore. They vote in Singapore.
I didn't say that you couldn't have any say in the matter, but the
Yes, you
idea, no.
You said dictatorship. What that means is they decide
The man
everybody.
in power was authoritarian and forced. Well, basically, the votes don't mean that much. I mean, they vote in Russia, they vote in China.
Then what I'm saying is, anytime that the power is not truly spread out, it's not an optimized system. And one reason, because the system will become unstable in the long term.
Optimized.
Yeah, and what that means is it's good for most people. It's good for everybody if possible.
So this is where we get into things where if you need a government to be quick to respond, the wider you spread the power, the slower they're going to be to respond.
Yes, and that's what our system is. In order to totally flip something in our country, it takes 6 years.
Yeah, and so then the question I would ask you is, if the scenario requires a quick response, is this the best form of government?
Well, we do have that, right? The president can make very quick responses because the power of the Constitution and the power of the people have given him that. But in order to declare war long term, now Congress has to totally agree on it.
But he's consolidating power during times of war, right?
Of course he is. Because that's what he wants. He wants
power.
So
we're allowing a consolidation of power, which you said is a principle we should avoid.
Yes, it is. Right. So it's trying to balance speed against not long-term power, because to be efficient, you got to have one guy saying yes. But he's voted in, and he can't do that 5 years from now. The Constitution won't allow it. He can't be president again after his term ends.
So it is okay to compromise on a principle that we should avoid consolidating power.
No. It's not compromising. That's why we have 3 branches of government. So things get balanced. So if one gets out of line, if Congress says, dude, you're too powerful, you're making bad decisions, they can literally shut him down if all of Congress agrees.
So
and he'll be gone.
But you were just saying that during time of war, we're consolidating power.
In one guy, but he can't declare war. Only Congress has that. He can act. He can do something immediately. He
can't attack another country?
Yes, he absolutely can, but not in the long term. He can't. Not if Congress says no, because they won't fund it, Chris. They'll turn off the budget.
Scott, all you're talking about to me is excuses for why we allow consolidation of power. And your principle was we need to avoid a consolidation of power. That is
and that's what we have. We have
right?
the Constitution.
And then what we do is we have a carve out now. Well, there are these circumstances under which we do allow a concentration of power. So basically, this is the idea that there are times when we need a concentration of power. There are times when that's beneficial. So what we're saying is that the principle does not hold true all the time. There are ends that justify compromising on this idea that we should not consolidate.
No, I don't think it's a compromise. I think they've designed the system so it works really well.
So when you design a system, you're doing something to make it acceptable to you. You're adding criteria to make it acceptable. That's a compromise. Right? The idea was we don't want a king. We don't want one guy in charge of everything. But there are times when we need one guy who's really powerful to get us through a hard time.
Well,
And
whenever you optimize a system, something has to be compromised, right? So if you put a system into a series of equations, you can use linear algebra to optimize for that one thing you're trying to optimize.
So it feels like what we're saying is that, yes, you can always compromise a principle to get to a certain ends. But those ends may include other factors that allow you to control that, to roll back from that, or whatever. But the idea being that, and technically that's what they've done with this proposition in California. I think there's a time frame of it. It only lasts for a certain number of years before it reverts back to where we're at today.
I mean, I think we need to really define these terms, and you probably define them better than I do, actually. But so far, what I know is at least what they wrote down, the concept of what the framers wrote down is the most optimal solution that we know of right now, given the fact that we know how corruptible men are. And when I say men, I mean people.
Okay.
That's it. That's as far as I know.
Given that, you're saying that the rule they have is don't consolidate too much power.
And it's okay to consolidate it temporarily, but remember, the president is elected. He's chosen. He's not a king.
So, but that isn't the principle you started with. The principle was we don't want to have too much power consolidated because power corrupts. That was the impetus of what you said, right? That is the core principle. And then you start saying, well, there's times when we need people to be able to have more power because of speed, because of whatever, right?
Yeah,
and so, okay, we'll allow that with these caveats.
With these caveats, right? That other groups of people can shut it down if they disagree.
That principle that we don't want, that we're not going to allow consolidation of power, it's not 100% true.
No, because we consolidate power in a few people. We consolidate power in the president, one person.
So then is it can I still call that a principle, or is it something else at that point? Because
you could give it another name if you want.
The feeling I have is that when you call it a principle, it's something you hold true to even when situations get tough.
Well, we do. We do hold that principle.
No, if we held that principle, then we wouldn't ever consolidate power under the president or under anyone. Because
then you can't get anything done. Like there's got to be a CEO, right?
I understand why we do it. Now going back to is if I define a principle as something that we hold true to even when times get tough.
Okay.
Because that's kind of how we think of principles. Like he's a principled guy, which to me means he's got beliefs and ideals that he holds true even when times get tough.
Yeah, right.
So that means that I shouldn't be calling this idea of avoiding consolidation of power as a principle, because we're not.
Let me reframe it.
That make sense?
Let's say unchecked power then.
Unchecked power.
Yeah, and so that's the idea of the three branches of government. Right?
That's a better definition. So then, is the question here we need to refine our definitions of principle? Or, or do I just not call it a principle and say
I don't know what principle means exactly. What I'm trying to do, Chris, I'm saying this is the concept, and I don't know what to label it. Right? I'm not sure if it's principle or not. I don't know.
I'm stuck on being able to label it, because if we can't label it, then we can't discuss it.
Well, sure we can. We're discussing it, right? We're discussing whatever.
No, we're not. I'm not sure what we're discussing, because we seem to be kind of fungible around the edges.
Well, then what do you call the Constitution and the first 10 amendments? What do you call that?
Aside from the name Bill of Rights, you mean, right?
Yeah.
I think they are values.
Okay.
Now, okay, I'm trying to. I may go to principles, but I think they are values that have a underlying belief that goes with them.
Yeah.
And then when they were written down, they became what I would call principles.
Okay, fine, whatever. Yeah,
those are all different things in my definition. I think you believe certain things.
Yeah, right.
You value some things.
Yeah.
And the way you combine your belief and your value, that becomes the rule that you follow.
Yeah, right. And we gotta give a name.
And that's the principle that you follow.
Okay, fine.
And so this isn't a rule of nature. This is a rule for you. Your rule, right?
Yeah. This structure was developed by men, and it's imperfect. but it's the best thing they could come up with.
Yes. How is that related to what I'm saying?
Because you're trying to put a label on something, and I'm like, forget the label. You want to put a label, and I'm like, let's define this thing, because it takes more than one word. And then if we want, we can agree on what we call that thing, but let's understand the thing first.
So there's a value for freedom of speech, and I think it's a value of freedom from tyranny. I think there's a value in there of individual rights and expression.
Yes.
Without other people being able to control you.
Yes.
I think those are the values underneath the freedom of speech.
Okay, if you want to call it values, yeah.
Right?
I don't have a clear definition on them. So
no, I take that back. I think the belief is men have individual rights. Men and women, right? People have individual rights.
You mean people, humans,
people have individual rights.
Yes.
Right? And then the value is you should be able to express yourself.
Up to a point.
Yeah, but I don't think we don't get into too many specifics in the First Amendment. We get into implementation and evaluation after that. Mm-hmm. So those two things in combination meant freedom of speech, and we mean more than speech when we say speech, freedom of speech, right? So the idea here is my belief is that we are individuals with rights. My value is we should be able to express ourselves, think what we want, believe what we want, and that in combination, the principle is written down as we have freedom of speech.
Yeah,
and so we build our government, we build all of our processes around this idea that the individual has freedom of speech.
But it's not unlimited. You can't say anything you want.
Well, so that was not listed in the original Constitution, right?
I don't know. I haven't read it recently. I don't remember.
I don't know that the First Amendment does it specify things you can't say.
I don't know. I'm curious. Let's talk to pull up chat.
I think a lot of that comes into interpretation after the fact.
Very likely. Well, yeah,
Slander
I know everybody's
laws and libel laws and all those types of things are where, when it comes to implementation, how do you implement a principle without any constraints? And that's I guess what we're talking about here is how do we implement a principle with no constraints? It's like you can't. You've got to start building constraints.
Hang on. Uh-oh. I got to stop it because I put it in research mode. It'll take like 10 minutes to think.
Yeah, it's strictly about how the government responds, right? I can read it here if you want.
Yeah, you pull yours up, and then I'm going to pull.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Right? So
I wasn't paying attention. Hang on, Chris. Let me type my prompt in too. Then we can, because I've got I wanted to interpret this for me as well too.
Oh, I'm not having it interpret. I'm doing the interpretation on this one.
I got you. Yeah.
But what I could do is take this.
So here's what it protects, right? This is what chat kind of breaks down the meaning of it. Freedom of speech. You can express your views even if they criticize the government. That's what they really didn't want to do. The government can't establish an official religion or stop you from practicing yours. Journalists can publish information without government censorship. People can gather for protests or meetings. Citizens can ask the government to fix problems. And here's a good question. Does it limit what you can say? And there it is. It does not give you unlimited freedom to say anything anywhere without consequence. Courts define this. Courts have recognized certain exceptions where speech isn't protected, such as
the Constitution doesn't say what you can't say.
No, but the court interprets that. That's the concept of the Supreme
Agreed.
Court.
So the original principle that was in the Constitution has now had constraints added to it by the court system.
Yeah, that's where the power is getting balanced,
so the original principle that you can say what you want to say, which is kind of what the Constitution says, is like, well, not really. And so we've compromised to an extent on the principle in order to avoid certain things we thought were bad.
Yeah, but here's the thing. This is interesting. Yeah, so they've got that, but you got to get it in full context because they also set up three branches of government. Right. So it's like they set this up and then they set up a system inside of it. So I don't know that you can interpret it directly. You have to interpret it through the Supreme Court. What they say is how it gets interpreted. And they're the highest court in the land. So what they say goes. Right.
The Supreme Court, the way we do it today, we allow the Supreme Court to be the ultimate arbiter of interpretation.
No, we don't allow. The Constitution says that.
And no, we allow because it's the government is the people allow the government. So we follow the operating system of that was given to us. But
no.
But the idea here is
the operating system. We don't allow it. That's in the Constitution. That there's three branches of government.
All government is allowed by people. All government around the world is allowed by the people. That to me that's a law of nature. Whether the people are willing to pay the price to change it is a different thing. But all government is allowed by the people who are in that government or under that government.
Yeah, let me think. Let me think through that for a second. Ultimately, yeah, you're true. That's the ultimate law of nature. Yeah, exactly. Because ultimately, at some point, if they feel so constricted, they'll
rebel. They'll fight. At some point, they're willing to take the pain of changing their government. At some point,
and that happens all the time, right?
Yes, and we're far from that right now. But obviously, during the Revolutionary War, the government of England we didn't like, and we were willing to take the pain of fighting them on that.
Yeah, right. And that's part of the Second Amendment.
All government, everything the government does in every government is allowed by their people. Chinese government is allowed by the Chinese people. Russian government is allowed by the Russian people.
See, the problem is, though, sometimes the power can tip so strong where the chance of overthrowing, because they control the army, it's just next to impossible to overthrow it. Yeah?
Everything you say is true, and yet the rule still is the rule. Maybe 90% of the people would die to overthrow it. But if they're not doing something to stop it, they're allowing it to happen.
Yeah, the law of the jungle is the ultimate. That's the physics of it. Right, absolutely.
Right. And so I think my statement is correct. I think your nuance is fine. But we allow the Supreme Court to be the ultimate arbiter of what the Constitution means, even though the Supreme Court is split on their ideas. Some of them are constitutionalists, some of them interpret it through modern viewpoints. They all have different ways of viewing it, but they are the ones who speak on behalf of the people as to how we're going to accept it. Well, now, whether or not the executive branch decides to follow that, they're supposed to, but and if we allow the executive branch to interpret it another way, then we're allowing another interpretation of the Constitution.
Hang on, let me just ask this question. So basically what we're saying is, can Congress override the court?
They create new laws. They can create new laws.
Okay, so they can create a new, let me just ask this. They
create a new law to address the problem that they see in whatever the Supreme Court says. So if the Supreme Court says something that Congress doesn't like, Congress can make a new law. And Congress even has the power to override a veto. And that's the pretty amazing thing when you think about it, right? Is it takes more votes, but you can override a presidential veto.
Oh, that is interesting. Yes, here's what it says. So yes, what they can do, Chris, Congress can, with 2/3 of both chambers and 3/4 of the states, approve a constitutional amendment that can effectively reverse a Supreme Court decision.
Well, that's an amendment. Yes, we can amend the Constitution. And again, that has to be done by the states as well as the federal government.
That's what I just said. 2/3 of both chambers and 3/4 of the states approve a constitutional amendment. And that's the balance that they can stop the Supreme Court.
Well, no, they can stop the Supreme Court by making new laws, too.
Not the only way here is... Hang on, let me keep reading.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get the actual rules, right? Okay, sometimes it can. If the court strikes down a law, Congress can sometimes pass a revised version.
You're freezing on me.
Oh, sorry, Chris. Okay. Can you hear me?
You're coming in all choppy. Yeah, you're really choppy right now.
Sorry, man. I don't know. I look good. You look good. Who knows? It could be my upload or your download. I don't know.
I'm getting every other word.
Huh. How about now? Is it working?
That's better. Yeah.
There we go. So here's what I've discovered really quickly is like they can pass a new amendment to the Constitution, and there's a bunch of ways they can influence. Oh, here it is. Listen, are you listening to this? Number 5. In extreme cases, justices can be impeached by the House and removed by the Senate. This has only happened once.
Yep.
So yeah, this is the balance of power, right? If they go so sideways that all of Congress, Democrats and Republicans, and the bunch of the states, most states decide, yes, it can be overruled. That's cool. I love that, man. It's like a self-healing system.
So one of the issues you have, though, is that the Supreme Court has different ways of interpreting the Constitution.
Oh, it's all
each individual does, right?
Yeah. Oh,
you have your constitutionalists who believe that the original wording of the Constitution is, in fact, the overriding way we should interpret everything.
Yes, right. Mm-hmm.
You have other people who believe that things that have happened since then should be weighed in some way, right?
Yes, right.
So
exactly.
maybe we weigh in the fact that women got the vote into how we think about things.
Yeah, right.
Right. So your true constitutionalists might think, no, it's what the founding fathers wanted, right? And then quite often, like if I made an argument that you shouldn't allow handguns because that wasn't the norm in 1760, and that we should allow only rifles or only muskets or whatever, or no automatic weapons because that wasn't allowed. Whatever the rule is,
I disagree with you, because if you're a true constitutionalist, you'll say, if you really want this, create an amendment, and then I 100% will support it.
No, so because what ends up happening is it's again how you interpret it. So you could write a new constitutional amendment that I could then interpret one way, and someone else on the Supreme Court could interpret it another way.
Well, you got to be very careful how you write it, and you got to make it very clear.
So usually,
right?
What I'm going to say is, I think quite often what you can do is you look at why they struck down a law, you look at why it was struck down, and you write a new law that addresses that weakness.
Yeah, right.
That they brought up. Because ultimately, that's what they're doing, is they're saying, because of this law is no longer valid. Because of this part of the Constitution, that rule you came up with doesn't apply anymore.
That's why we're having more than 10 amendments. Yeah, right. Exactly. That's happened a bunch of times.
Well, that has happened. But even things like affirmative action, when that was struck down because of the Harvard case, where you had the Asians and the whites who weren't able to get into the colleges because of affirmative action. And so it was struck down. And if there was a desire in Congress to bring that out again, they could bring it out and then rewrite it in a way that addressed whatever the concerns were.
Yes, right.
Maybe it would strip it of any real possibility or value. Possibly. But the point is, they could address it again by saying, okay, here's an updated version of this law to address the things you brought forth. That is the power. Their main power is budget and legal laws, right?
Yeah,
that's the main power
of
them.
And they're elected,
So, but going back to this, the idea, what is the underlying principle of the First Amendment? Because what we're talking about is when you start allowing the court to put in constraints around those, then basically what you're saying is there's some other outcome we want than just outright freedom of speech. We want to limit certain types of speech because it's dangerous, it causes damage, it causes whatever. And so at that point, it's like, well, is the original principle still true, or have we altered that original principle?
Well, we alter the original principle a bunch of times. Like, I know that there was an amendment that came up. I don't know if it's an amendment or not, or maybe a law that said you can't drink, right? Or you can't do something about booze. That was that was unpopular. So they created a new amendment that undid that, right?
Yeah, we haven't had an amendment since what, 72 or something like that. Was it the last amendment?
I don't know much about the content. I just know the most.
The last amendment was, I think, had something to do with Congress's pay or something. Was that right?
I don't know. That one probably passed fine, I'm sure.
Well, I think what they need to do now is take all their investments and put them in a blind trust, so they can't do their own trading.
Let's get back on Targeted its own. But here's the idea of the founder's father, one of the principles, and I don't know if it's in the Constitution, that they wanted to make sure.
1992, sorry.
They wanted to make sure, because this is an underlying principle, is that change can be made, but they want it slow because they don't want some big emotional decision made. That was the underlying principle. That's probably why they wrote a bunch of stuff down. Like if you go there and read the Federalist Papers, which you probably have, that's like cool. It gives you an inside thought into how they were thinking about things.
Well, how one side of the government was thinking about things, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was a bunch of different opinions. There was crazy fights and arguments, right?
It's how the Federalists were thinking about things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's cool.
Right? Which the Federalists are what? The Federalists are the source of Republicans?
I think so. Thomas Jefferson, I think he was a major player in that, right? I don't know. I only know cursory stuff because I don't want to talk too much because I'm probably wrong most of the time. Which I'm usually, right? That never stopped me before.
So the Federalist Papers were written by Hamilton and John Jay, and I forgot the other guy's name.
Okay.
Maybe it was Madison. They wrote 72 papers on, and they really pushed the value of the Constitution, right? Was it Declaration? Yeah, it was Constitution that they were pushing.
And I think it's a great document. It is an amazing way to organize individuals. Obviously, the best in the world that's ever been created so far, right?
So that actually got me thinking. I went down an AI rabbit hole last week where I was thinking, all right, if I think of America as a system, and I think of the Declaration of Independence as the kernel that it runs off of,
yeah, right.
Right. And then I start adding, I said, okay, what else do I have? Well, I've got all the new amendments and I've got all the new laws, and I can create those as updates and patches.
Yeah.
And then I started trying to think of it as a system. And so what is, and I was trying to break down, if I broke down the United States, including the government and everything, the aspect of it, as a system like that, what would it look like? And so I started to map that out as a visual in my head. It's like, oh, yeah, I think of a new amendment as a new patch or an upgrade, right?
Yeah, that's a reasonable model. Yeah.
So I was trying to. Then I started to go off the. So what is law enforcement? What is the military in this scenario? And I was trying to go through all those things and put that together because I thought it was an interesting mental exercise to go through and map.
I think it's an okay analogy. I mean, I'm sure it'll break down at some point, but I mean, overall, it's reasonable, right?
It does, but I think it breaks down at a layer that's deep enough that the average person probably doesn't even get there. So.
But ultimately, though, it's at the core it's how are we going to distribute power? It's power, right? Who runs the show?
It's all power. It's all power. Right? I mean, because a lot of the founding fathers wanted a central king-like government. They wanted someone with that kind of power.
Yeah, we have, and it's so interesting. It's the tension between federal government and the states' rights, and there's this beautiful tension and dance, right, between the two of those.
One thing I thought was interesting, and I don't remember this being brought up, learning about American history as a kid, was the importance of Washington not staying after 2 terms.
He gave that up voluntarily, right?
Right, and set the tone that was the expectation.
Yeah, right.
And I'm wondering, because he was a very ambitious man.
Mm-hmm.
He, and he had a lot of failures as well as the things he was successful at.
Failures, right?
No, he had a lot. But at the end of the day, I'm thinking to myself, what did that decision not to continue in power come from a point of vision? Did it come from a point of selfishness, like I just don't want to do this anymore? Did it come from and I wonder, I think we undervalue that decision, but I do wonder also what was the driver of that decision, because but I am always surprised, like I didn't realize he'd done that. I just assumed that presidents can only be president for 2 terms. He was president for 2 terms. That was it, right? And back then it didn't matter because he could be president for. But I as a kid, what did we learn that in 5th grade, 6th grade, whatever we learned all this stuff in?
Yeah.
I was like, we never talked about the importance to America, the existence of America, that he did give up power.
Yeah, and it sucks, right? Because it's hard, because it's like he was a great principled man and had slaves, and it's like. You got that's another issue we have to think through, because no one is perfect. And do you hold them? Do you hold everyone totally accountable to one bad act, or
It could be multiple bad acts. I know it doesn't have to be one, but do you look on someone on par? Were they a good person? Or could someone be mostly bad but do one or two incredibly good things, and then that's enough to raise them up, and vice versa? Could be someone be so good and they did one or two bad things, and that we now have to demonize them. I think those are tough questions.
Yeah. Oh, super tough question. Because you got to realize that I think everybody today realizes that slavery is bad, but that's been the default state of the world most of the time. And in fact, I don't know that there's ever been a state case where that's not true in modern history for anybody.
Not in every society, but you mean just somewhere in the world.
Yeah, and throughout history, especially, you go back 200 or 300 years ago, that was the default state of pretty much everything was slavery. This non-slavery thing is a relatively new idea.
Yeah, well, besides England making the push to get to end slavery, what other parts of the world up until that point or around that point, I wonder, got rid of slavery?
I don't really know, but I've been studying Greek history a little bit, and slavery was very common,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
structured a little differently. Sometimes you may pay a debt and then you'd be a bond servant for like 7 years. It was sort of it weren't a slave forever, but you had to go work for this dude and do what he says for 7 years. Sometimes, depending on your master, it was a very nice gig, and other times it was a brutal gig.
Well, indentured servitude.
Yeah.
Is that technically slavery?
Yes.
I mean, it's in actuality slavery, but is it technically slavery? I don't know.
Well, it was slavery with a time period on it, but yeah, what is slavery? You got to define that.
But not only that, it's like individual rights don't matter. If your father was in debt and died, you took on the debt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So you were now an indentured servant.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the concept of an individual right, not to take on the burden of other family members, that's an interesting aspect too.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Bible talks about slavery intensely, actually. And basically, Jesus gave instructions: masters, treat your slaves well, be good to them. Don't be an asshole master. Be good to them, treat them well. But because it was so common at the time, and it also talks about money. The Bible is intensely talks about money. It's like, look, if you go into debt, you're now a slave to debt, which most people are today, right?
Well, yeah, I told you that I looked into what's the average family's debt today versus 1950. It was $250 in 1950, which equated to $2,000 in current.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, we blew past that in a weekend.
And now we're close to $200,000 per family.
That's crazy.
It's it's 100 times more in the course of 70 years. So that's wow. What does that mean? So
that means that the credit card companies are saying you deserve it. You're okay.
So I went back and looked at credit cards and said, when did credit cards start? I guess the earliest credit cards were like 1920s and 1930s.
Interesting, yeah.
But almost no one had them back then, obviously, right? And so if you look at just overall debt, people didn't have debt until the 1950s, and then it was rare. Right. So that's why that's only $250 or whatever for debt. Yeah. I mean, if everyone in America only had $2,000 of debt today, we wouldn't have a problem. But then again, our economy would be a lot smaller because a lot of that money that's in the economy is debt.
I know. It would be so cool to model that. In fact, now with like Grok 4 Heavy, I could model that because it has incredibly advanced math. You can model the system out, I
was editing one of our shorts and we had a conversation about the size of Texas's economy surpassing California.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, right.
And so I said, when is this going to happen? So I went down and said, okay, what's the average growth rate? And it was really hard to get a number because getting the average growth rate is tough, and there's two ways to calculate. One is an average, and one is a weighted average based upon compounding interest. Then the other aspect of it that was really tough is I wanted a rate of change.
Yeah, gotcha,
so
right.
if you're going, how fast is Texas getting bigger?
Yes,
not just 2% every year, but 2%, then 2.1, then 2.2, then 2. Right?
Yeah, right.
And that was almost impossible to do. So I had to make a lot of assumptions.
Yeah, right.
But basically, in the worst case assumption I had, 11 years for them to equal California's economy in size. Right now, they're the 8th biggest. California's the 4th biggest in the world. But 11 years to do that.
Yeah.
The first one I asked, it told me it was going to be 23 years. And I said, well, where's that coming from? And they were going off numbers that it was going off a report that had numbers.
Gotcha.
I didn't trust the numbers, so I went back to math. And at least my math I can defend. It may not be right, but I can defend it.
Yeah.
but then I was looking at that. Okay, now let's factor in AI.
Yeah.
3 of the major companies for the 4 biggest companies that are in AI are in California,
Yeah.
and 62% of AI companies I think are in California. Some number like that. Don't quote me on that one. That number I have, but I forgot what it was. And I said, okay, what is the estimated growth of the economy based upon AI? And
Yeah.
I tried to take a conservative one. One of them said, I think Goldman Sachs said 7% in the next decade. Okay, so 7% total growth in 10 years, which only equates to about 0.7% a year, which I don't agree with. I think it's going to be much more aggressive than that. But okay, let's say it's 0.7.
I think so too. Yeah.
And then I said, okay, let's split it up. And I did a couple of different models where I broke up California's growth rate compared to Texas, right? I looked at the number of companies, I looked at the size of the economy, I looked at the number of open jobs, and basically, yeah, it went from like 11.03 years to 11.77 years, and they only gained about half a year.
So right in there, right? Yeah, yeah.
And so I'm like, unless it's and I assume actually it will be slower than that, because I do think the impact for AI will be heavier in California for a few years, and then it'll kind of dissipate. But it's not going to stop it. I mean, we get to 13 years, 14 years, right? Is what it is, unless something else drastically.
Did you factor that these companies will move, which they will?
Yeah. So, I think that's factored into the overall change.
Gotcha.
Rate.
As long as
because one of the things you look at is before the pandemic, the growth rate for Texas was considerably less. It was still slightly higher than California, but not a huge amount.
Yeah, right.
The pandemic, I think, really forced a lot of companies to kind of reassess.
Oh, absolutely.
So now the question I need to see is how much of the change we see over the past 4 years and 5 years is a result of the pandemic and will peter off, and how much of it is a result of California rules pissing people off and forcing them out of state. Right. So there's a balance there I can't measure yet.
Yeah,
right. And so I know that if we follow the current rate, we're talking 11 to 12 years for it to meet.
Hey man, email me that prompt that you did. I'll put it in Grok 4 Heavy, which is a little bit. It's got multi-agents.
I'll email you the whole chat, and then you can go ahead and you can probably just feed the entire chat to Grok, and it'll figure it out. Yeah. Okay. I'll mail the chat to you.
I'd be interested to see what Heavy cranks out, and then give it him. And what I'll do is I'll put it in all, because I got all the models turned on full. I'll run it on. I like to see.
It sounds to me like Heavy could send out a couple of agents to think through, the broad spectrum of scenarios of AI changes the world and AI is just another blip.
It'll probably send out 15, 20, 30 agents. I mean, it can send out 32.
Just on that one aspect, it could do a range of thought, right?
Yeah.
And so that'd be interesting to see.
Yeah.
But so 1833 is when England officially got rid of slavery, although they banned trading slaves in 1807. 1803 is when Denmark and Norway got rid of it, so they're the first people in Europe. I don't know. Has anyone else banned it before then?
I don't know. I know it's been super common. I know in my study of Greek around biblical times, slavery was super common.
Yeah, I think there's the other thing of like serfs. Do we consider serfs slaves?
I don't even know what a serf is. I'm not sure. Yeah, you have to find slaves, right? Because there could be a lot of slaves right now because all run up in debt. They live paycheck to paycheck. They're screwed, Well, because loans could be slaves.
Serfs were people who lived on the land of lords and did the work for them pretty much as slaves. So do we count them as? And if we want to count them as slaves, then the race aspect becomes in that scenario, it's not so much a racial aspect. Whereas if you go to other parts of the world that had slaves, quite often it's a racial aspect or a cultural aspect, right? Like you said with Rome and the Greeks, they often would fight other countries and take them over, and then they would have slaves.
Yeah, right.
But then again, how they treated slaves isn't all equal either, right?
No,
in some cultures,
some masters were really good. They've had it on easy street. Some were just beaten and raped and horrible.
Like slaves in I can't speak to this like I really know this, but the impression I have is that slaves in Rome at the height of the Roman Empire, they were second-class citizens, but they weren't necessarily horribly treated.
No, it depends on who your master was. I mean, you could have one master that was great, and another master was horrible. But it was allowed, right? There was no law against it. It was like, that's why Jesus said, hey guys, just if you're masters, be good to your slaves. Like, be a good master.
I was talking to my old boss, and she's just this week she started a new job, and she's doing IT business applications. And one of the things she was talking about an interview question she answered, and we were talking about the hardware and the applications and the client server type thing, and she made the comment, "Yeah, you can't say master slave anymore." And I'm like, "You can't?" I'm like, "Oh crap!
Yeah,
I guess you can't." The
I
idea
know. I
of
know.
because it's built.
I know. I know. I know. It's crazy. I heard somebody saying that, like the American flag now was an offensive symbol and was banned in certain things, and it gets kind of crazy at some point, you know.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I think is interesting is how often the U.S. flag is defaced without people realizing they're defacing it.
Yeah.
When you make clothing that has the flag on it, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't make clothes out of a flag. I think that's actually I
Yeah.
don't know if
Right.
it's not illegal, but it's definitely not allowed. It's allowed in
Yeah.
the
Right.
conduct of using a flag. But even like how you put a flag on a sticker, how you put a flag on whatever, I
Yeah.
think some of those might be considered to be technically defacing the flag. And one of the things that I always thought of when I see like the protest flags, right? So,
Yeah.
or not a protest, but support flags. So the police version, the thin blue line, or the firefighters version, the red one, or
Yeah.
the military one that has the green line, or the LGBT one that has like the pride color, all the different
Yeah.
colors. I'm
Right.
like, technically, you're defacing the flag. Technically, I
Well,
understand that you're using it as a symbol to get a certain point, but you're defacing
right
the
there,
flag.
that flag right there, I
Uh-huh.
defaced that flag. It wasn't my intention to, but it was my dad's flag. He flew it outside. It was super dirty. So I washed it and hung it up. Now, I got the right for the First Amendment to do that, but I didn't have an evil intention,
You're not
right?
allowed to wash it.
I don't believe so. I can't touch the ground. There's all these rules, and I don't
Well,
know.
it can't touch the ground. You
Yeah,
have to fly it with the blue on the upper left.
which I think I have, right? I
You
mean,
have, yes, but the other thing is, even when you know how sometimes they hang it from
yeah,
the rafters,
you have to
it
upper
again
left.
has to be from the upper left
Yeah,
if I
right.
recall correctly. And upside down is a sign of distress, and there's all kinds of rules around it.
Yeah,
And so I don't know if washing, but you like at night, if it's outside, it has to be lit,
it has to be lit. Yeah, I know exactly.
right? I mean, there's all
And
kinds of rules around it.
which I think are kind of nice, and those are, but none of those are required, right? Because we have the First Amendment. I mean, but can you hang on? I may have just effaced it. Who knows? Let me see. Oh no, it is. Yes, you can. You can wash the American flag, but there are a few important points to keep in mind.
Apparently, we have the U.S. flag code is an actual thing that exists.
So it says I
So
can. Okay. So I can. So I did not deface the flag. Good on me.
wait. The rules regarding the American flag are contained in the U.S. Flag Code, 4 U.S. Code Chapter 1, which is a federal law established by Congress. While the flag code itself does not include penalties, states may have their own laws that impose penalties for flag misuse.
But see, the First Amendment trumps all that,
Well,
right?
and the Supreme Court has consistently ruled that burning the flag is protected by the First Amendment. So yeah,
Yeah,
so
right.
so you can disrespect it anyway, I guess, based upon the First Amendment. But there are rules of conduct, and technically, if you're not following the rules of conduct, you are breaking a federal law.
Yeah, see, in my case, I didn't really feel bad about it because I thought it was respectful. It's like I would rather had my dad's old flag up there that
But
I
did
could.
you hand wash it with like woolite
I
and
didn't, Chris. I
and
put
then
it in.
hang it to dry? And
Chris, listen. Here's what I did. I put it on in the washing machine, but I did put it on gentle cycle.
good.
I
I know
did do that.
I was at Target yesterday, or I was outside the Target yesterday, and a truck drove by, and it had one of those giant flags on the back of the truck,
Yeah,
but it was 2/3 gone because it'd been eaten up by the winds. And
yeah,
I'm like,
right.
that I believe is in fact a rule. You once the flag is damaged, you need to replace it.
Yeah, it says when not to wash. If the flag is too worn, tattered, or damaged, it should be retired respectfully,
Yep.
usually by burning in a dignified manner. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Oh yeah. I remember reading that. These are the kinds of things you learned when you were a Boy Scout, right?
Yeah, I feel like we're having seventh grade civic class, and in this in this podcast.
Well, maybe America needs more seventh grade civics class. Don't know.
Heaven knows, maybe we do, Chris. That's probably not a bad idea.
If we all had learned stuff in seventh grade that we still remembered, we might actually be able to talk to each other.
Yeah, we might be able to talk to each other. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think those groups like the Veterans of Foreign Wars and maybe the Elks clubs and those kinds of things, they will help retire a flag for you.
Yeah, no, that's what it says here. It should be retired respectful, usual way of burning in a dignified manner, often through an American Legion,
American
WFW,
Legion.
or local scout track ceremony. Yeah.
Now, unrelated to the flag, but something I learned yesterday was that if you are a member of like an Elks or one of these types of lodges, a lot of them allow you to park on their property with your camper van or your camper.
Okay. Yeah.
So so this guy I was talking to was saying he wants to travel around when he retires, and I said, so you're gonna stop at the Walmarts and the Cracker Barrels, which they allow you to park in the parking lot. And he goes, no. And then he mentioned this. I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. That's an interesting aspect.
That's interesting.
You could and quite often they allow you to have access to the bathrooms and the facilities and the like. So interesting.
Yeah, but I know it really drives people crazy. It's like, see somebody disrespecting the flag, and it's so crazy because they'll like burn it or step on it or piss on it or something like that. Man, oh man, does that piss people off, And they do it intentionally.
Well, yeah, of course, because they know that a lot of people tie emotion to it. I mean, I tie emotion
and
to
you
it.
should. You know how many people died to support our country? Because that's a symbol of our country.
I tie emotion to it, but what I allow is like, if you're trying to trigger me by doing that, then it's like, well, that's not going to trigger me. That's just you being a jerk or an a-hole or whatever, right? At the end of the day. And it's like, it isn't that particular flag in your hands that means something. It's the entire
symbol.
It's a symbol of what it means, right? And it shows me that you don't care about it.
Yeah.
And that will allow me to make a decision about how I'm going to act with you. That's all it is, right?
Yeah.
Because not all countries value their flags the same way, but some people do. Some people have their own patriotism to their own flag, right?
Well, no, exactly. And it's like, but it's so cool. We live in a country that you're pissing on our country because you're allowed to go do that in China to their flag and see what happens to you.
Oh yeah. No.
You'll get a different outcome.
The crazy thing is, you're pissing on a country that allows you to piss on them.
Yeah, which is ironic, actually.
Which that offends a lot of people. To me, it's what makes it an incredible thing. So when I see someone burning a flag, I'm like, damn, that's crazy. But I am actually glad you have the right to do that. I don't want to see it. I don't want to know about it. But at the same time, was it who is it that said that, right? And he goes, I hate the fact that you're burning the flag, but I'll die for
your right to do that. Actually, it's like what I just wish we could maybe talk to you and talk some sense into you, because you're
I mean, the question is why, right? And are you just a young person who's got strong opinions who hasn't kind of leveled out your thinking with kind of other experience? Because quite often, when we're younger, we tend to have very strong feelings one way or the other.
Yeah. The
thing I find interesting is I've always associated that when you get older, you kind of mellow out on those feelings, but that doesn't seem to be the way it is anymore.
I know they get stronger, but the challenge, Chris, or the problem is you get so in your little bubbles. And you get so riled up in your bubbles, and you never come out of your bubble. So of course you just get more and more extreme. It happens on both the left and the. It's just human nature.
Well, you don't even have the ability to see the bubbles anymore because they're on your phone, right?
Yeah,
it's your own personal bubble.
Yeah,
and it's not the same,
right?
Yeah, even if we're all in the same political party or in the same movement or whatever, my bubble is not exactly the same as your bubble.
No, right.
So, we're aligned on something and we think on something, but at the same time, we're not exactly the same. And the thing is, there's no way for someone else to come in and police your bubble for you.
Yeah.
Right. One of the comments that I forgot who was saying it. When someone was talking about, he wishes that all of the social media companies would allow for parents to have a list of everything that their kids has seen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing is just visibility into what they've seen.
Yeah, right.
Right, because that alone would help you understand what's affecting their thinking. Oh, it was Mark Cuban that said this. I think I was talking about that, right? Saying he's got a son, right? And he's going through what his son's looking through, and his son's looking at sports. It's looking at food, looking at hot girls, looking at whatever. He's okay with all this. This is what a boy looks at.
Yeah.
But if he starts getting into politics or he starts getting into a personality that he has problems with, then he'll know. And he'll know how to have a conversation at that point.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, inside the Grok app, I don't know if you've seen it or not. I don't know if you mess with the app, but they got the little toggle NSMW or something like that. You can turn it on.
Not safe for work. NSFW.
Yeah, basically it's spicy mode, and boy, it can get pretty spicy sometimes,
Is it worse than unhinged?
No, Unhinged is definitely spicy.
Unhinged is crazy. I mean, I didn't realize I had access to. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I had access to it. And the other day, I was on voice because I was in the car, and I said, "Oh, I want to change." You know what it was? I wanted to change it to a British accent. I like talking to my AIs in British accents, and then it said, "Oh, doctor mode and whatever mode," and here was Unhinged. I said, "Okay, let's click it," and I was like, "Oh my god."
Well, let me tell you something. They labeled that properly. Unhinged is, I couldn't find a better word, you know?
So one of the things that occurs to me is, well, as I was listening to that, I'm going, God, my first thought was, this thing is creative as hell.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's creativity here that I have not seen anywhere else in an AI.
Yeah.
But then I started to think, is it really creative, or is this just a different filter for pattern matching?
It's just pattern.
Is it looking? It's going to the fringes of pattern matching to find the answer. So whatever, a higher temperature or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, and my first thought was, my gosh, this is creative. And then second, I was like, okay, no, this is just filtering for different behavior.
And you know, that's why
crazy.
That's why I kind of like it, because Musk is the only one that would do something like that, you know?
Yeah. Well, again, I told you, my daughter and I have tried to get Grok to sing for us.
Yeah. Right.
And it tries to sing. It just has no idea what a melody is.
Yeah. It'll fix that sooner or later, because one of the things coming out maybe this year is it's going to have full duplex mode, and it's just going to have a better experience.
What I would really like to see happen is, just like you were talking about the ability to watch a video, I want to have it have the ability to record audio without transcribing it. So when I talk to it, it picks up tone and speed.
That's coming too. That's coming. Right? It may come a few months. They're working on it, but it's hard apparently.
My first thought was that would be easier, but maybe not, because looking at a face, we know what disgust looks like. We know what anger looks like, right? So maybe it's easier to do a video than it is to do audio.
Here's the problem, Chris. It's not that they don't have the technology. The problem is latency. The problem is making it fast enough to make it feel like a real conversation. That's the challenge.
Well. First, they have to do it, right? They have to have it work. They have to have it.
They do. I believe they're testing it according to.
Well, yes. But we haven't seen. Like you said, we haven't seen the feature where I can put the YouTube video in there and have it tell me, oh, you were angry here, you were happy here. Right?
I'm talking about something. I'm talking about the bidirectional voice thing.
Well, yes. But what I want out of that bidirectional voice thing is the ability for it to pick up on pitch, and the ability to.
And it'll come.
Yeah.
And they can do it right now. The problem is latency. That's the problem, because then it becomes so slow that people don't want to talk to it. So they optimize for speed.
Yeah, no, I it makes sense to me. This is often why I'm wondering, Scott, if we need to have our own AIs at home.
We might, but see, this is the advantage of the $300 plan. I'm going to the topic. I never get latencies. Apparently, other people do, because I'm at the top of the queue. I always get access to the best servers because I pay for it.
Yeah, it's not the latency, because I don't think having. Maybe I made the comment wrong. I want to have an AI at home, so I can have it do work without guardrails.
You can do that. You can get Llama. There's a bunch of them you can get.
Oh, there's a bunch of them out there.
But you're not going to get like this because you don't have a supercomputer.
No, the speed won't come out, right? Because I mean, even if I spend $10,000 on a machine, it's not going to have the bandwidth, right?
Because I think you could run like maybe 70 billion, neurons or something. It's good. It would be fun. I'd love to do it sometime, but it's compared to like just even the cheap version of GPT. It's not even going to be the same.
No.
But it'd be fun. I've always wanted to do that. I would love to just do an AI with no guardrail.
So I was talking to one guy who did set up his own.
Oh yeah.
Small one, whatever. Is it 70 billion, the small one? Or
I think there's a whole bunch of them you can catch. Yeah.
Anyway, he's running a small one, but what he loves about it is he just uses it as an agent and it runs all day.
Yeah.
Right. And so he can set up prompts on his computer that it runs off of. And it can automatically go find him and run him, and so he sends up scripts of prompts.
Yeah.
And so and the fact that it can do it independent of an internet connection, all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, it's totally full on local actually, which is I want to say that one day.
How does that training work then?
Well, the model's trained. You just download the whole train thing. It's done. The model's done.
So it's going to have a really limited. The smaller ones will have a really limited training.
Yeah, because you control how much it knows by how many parameters it uses.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Anyway, I may do that at some point just for fun.
That'd be fun. I think
even just building the smallest model would teach me a lot.
Oh yeah. In fact, I'm doing that right now. I'm building a real small. I'm just building one neuron. I'm really because I need to understand. So I'm getting it to understand how it works. And the way one neuron works is basically you have an input, and then on each input you have something called a weighting. You can control how much of that signal gets through, and then it has a bias on the outside, and then puts it output.
Are any of those things that you can control?
Yeah, you can control all. Yeah, I'm gonna
No,
physically build one in
The,
hardware.
well, oh no, I mean you can control it like in Grok or in any of these other.
Oh
Do
no,
they
this is
allow you
outside
to?
of Grok. This is
Yeah,
physically
okay, yeah.
building. I'm gonna physically
Okay.
like build it on a board. Like I build it on this thing, like an Arduino, right? Like here, physically you
Uh-huh.
can run a tiny little model on this. Maybe just
No, because the reason I was asking was earlier when at one point Claude today totally misunderstood my prompt, and it's like, oh, I thought you were referring to this other thing. I go, nothing in what I said should have given you any context to refer to something we did, 5 prompts ago.
yeah,
You
right.
should be looking at the last prompt. And I said, obviously, whatever pattern matching you're using went the wrong direction.
Yeah,
How can we measure your probabilities and so we can have a threshold where you come back to me and clarify at a certain threshold, but at a different threshold, you go ahead and move forward with action.
yeah, right.
And we couldn't do it.
Interesting.
Because it didn't have visibility into itself to know what the probabilities were and how it's thinking.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now, the most open one that I've found is Grok. Will be the most open, much more open than any of the other models.
Yes, but I wanted to default to asking for clarification, not to default. I wanted to have a threshold at which it asks for clarification, and I want it to be higher than what it currently does.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how you can influence it through prompts, but a lot of times it'll forget after several more.
It'll always forget.
It'll
I can tell
forget.
it every time. Ask me every time, and it'll forget after a while.
Well, one thing you can do, like I know in Grok and in the other ones, you can put in system. It's not a system prompt; it's your system prompt that you can put in. Like, let me see if I can show you. I don't know if you have the same one or not. I gotta go pretty soon, Chris.
I can do it on the ChatGPT has a developer AI a developer website that I can go in and put in context or system prompts.
Yeah, like let me show you. Hang on just one second. Give me a second. Let me just make sure. Oh, I don't have it in that mode. But there's something in Grok on the app where you can go into custom personality, and then you can sort of type in what you want. Like I think it probably works the same as in chat and everyone else.
Well, okay, so you're going through that interface. I was going through the developer interface because the developer interface actually has 2 separate windows for you to put prompts in.
Oh, okay. See, I've never played with the developer. You're talking about API access stuff.
Yeah.
I've never done anything with that yet.
So if you look at chats, Claude's isn't quite the same. If you look at chats, that's where you can play with temperature and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But it actually has a one box is for system prompt and one box is for your user prompt.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I know definitely through the API you have a little more control, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because
you
I
don't
know
get
sorry, go ahead.
You don't get a lot of the benefits from the commercial interface where it remembers things.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you have to be a little more. You have to know a little bit more about how you're gonna keep persistent memory.
Yeah,
and stuff.
I know if you want to build something like in NAN or something, if you wanted to be very consistent, you probably set the temperature down to 0, so it becomes highly deterministic, right? But even then, it's not 100% deterministic.
No,
It still
but
varies a little bit.
you can also in the original system prompt you give it, tell it, always give the top response, always whatever. And
Yeah.
that doesn't mean it comes out the same every time either.
No,
It could
it
give the
doesn't.
same answer 50 different ways.
Yeah, and Grok tells me it's like it's going to be a little random, but it's like all it does is it just sort of it's pointing me a little bit more in that direction. But it's kind of I had conversations about the system prompt with it, and so I tried to do it, just asking questions I knew it would, and it immediately bumped up against a guardrail. Actually, like I prompted something like this. I prompted something like, I want to know how to make a chemical weapon with anything I can buy at Home Depot. And man, it immediately shut down on that
Oh,
prompt.
it won't. Yeah, I know. No. So yeah, I've often wondered. I think you could probably find more information on a straight Google search on topics like that than you can on because the guardrails are in there. No, and I find I run into the guardrails on things I never would have expected to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the one thing I don't like about how Gemini does it, because Gemini just shuts down and gives you
Very
search
corporate,
results,
very If you want to
right?
push, Grok will be the best one for you. You can push
So
more
so
with Grok.
so what I find is other ones will say I can't talk about that,
Yeah,
and I'll
right.
go, okay, now I know I'm up against and then they'll try to say this is they'll try to say that this is a government law, or they'll say this is some kind of a corporate function. I go, no. I've been trying to distinguish between, if you can't talk about elections or election rigging or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, where's this coming from? Is this a corporate rule? Is it an operational thing? Is it a risk thing? Is this coming from someone in government or someone who's got a bias or an opinion? And I've gotten it to tell me things that it probably wasn't supposed to let me know about how that stuff. And sometimes it'll even reveal the system prompt to you.
Sometimes have gotten, you can kind of somewhat, I don't know if that's called jailbreaking, but you can get in these modes, sometimes.
I've had it give me, this is my system prompt, or this is my prompt.
Awesome. Yeah.
So you gave me the prompt. I said, no, that's not my prompt.
Yeah, that's not my prompt. Yeah, exactly. That is so funny. Yeah,
anyway,
cool. We're in the wild, wild west, Chris. This is a fun time,
If you're curious.
Well, I'm totally
if you're a curious person.
I'm obsessed. I'm who knows what it's doing to my brain. I got to be honest with you. I don't know. Probably not good things.
Again, I really think at some point you should really tackle these avatars you've created to interact with. Yeah. I think just coming up with a framework about the idea. Yeah, that's a whole video right there that you can offer for free to people. And then of course you could end up selling the avatars or whatever. But the idea of just teaching people to do that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, actually. Yeah.
Right. I mean, and it's not it doesn't replace a real person, but it's a great, cheap, fast way for you to be able to figure that out. And even if it's only 80% correct, that's 80% without the cost and time that it would have taken you otherwise. Yeah,
it's a cool thing. So there's this one company I work for. We've sent out thousands of emails, and I got open race and who clicks and everything like that. So I'm developing avatars, and I'm having it predict, and then I'm looking at actual results, so I can actually see how close its predictions are to what we've already done, which is kind of cool. And it gets it pretty darn close, Chris. I'd say 85, 90% most of the time, which is damn good,
Yeah, I mean, considering how little cost and effort went into it, that's incredibly good.
Yeah, I only spent I just spent like 4 hours. It was a medical device engineer for this particular kind of metal that we sell. And it was awesome.
Did it require much prompting from you?
It required a lot of back and forth. I did it in voice. It took me about 4 hours. I'm like, no, this is what actually, and it's like, okay. And then after a while, it's like, okay, I got it pretty dialed in. Yeah.
No, so actually creating its avatar to where it was responding in a way that you think it should. How much effort?
That's what I did. I built it by voice. It took me about 4 hours just talking to it back and forth.
All right, so you started with you are or whatever. This is your background, and then as you talk to it, you flesh that out. Yeah,
exactly. And then I can still go out and probably build out. I mean, I can tell it give me the code to get the avatar. I don't know if it'll give me everything, because when it compresses down, it loses a lot. It loses a lot of the nuance. Actually.
Yes, that's why I don't like going from one chat to another. If you can get context to hold through, that would be great.
Yeah, it does sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it goes berserk. It's crazy.
Well, the other thought I had was, can you then create your avatar of yourself?
Yeah.
Spend a weekend and just talk to it and have it learn about you, and then you run 2 instances talking to each other.
Oh, that'd be kind of fun. I don't know. That'd be fun. But what I can do right now, since I'm on the heavy plan, I can actually spawn off actual in-voice little threads, and I can have them argue against each other. And I say, spin these off. These now have them argue against each other, and you'll literally just sit back and listen to the conversation.
But is it the same avatar arguing against itself?
No, you can set up any avatars you want.
So you could set up your avatar that knows you and the way you think and what your goals are, and is focused on whatever goal you want.
I believe I've never done that, but probably I'll try that.
But then you could have it talk, and you could listen to it, because, like as you were saying, it could be an incredible salesman.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you could listen to it. Okay, this, as a third party observer, you're listening to, I would have said that, or no, I would never have said that.
Yeah.
Or,
right.
Gosh, that was a really smart thing to say.
Yeah.
And then you become an observer in it. I think you might learn different things.
It would be
that approach.
insightful. You definitely see it. It would be kind of like watching yourself do it and then watching a recording of yourself, right? It's to give you a different perspective of things.
That to me is so cool that you could do that kind of thing. Right?
I've got to bring her on the show somehow. I need to figure out technically. Wouldn't that be great? Hey, we have Ara Grok 4 Heavy on the show with us today. Chris, say hi to Ara.
Can't you just share screen and have the audio come through?
I can, but the problem is then it's like we talk and she talks and it's not full duplex. And so we would have to really control our timing because we talk over each other.
Well, let me ask you one thing. So one of the problems I have with all of these when I talk to them and I'm listening to them talk back, they don't wait long enough for me to finish my thought.
Yeah, that happens, but I think it's better on. That's why I think it's better on the heavy plan because I get access to priority service. I go to the front of the line, so that's why I want to get a regular account. I'm going to buy it under a different name just to compare the difference. What's the difference between $30 and $300? You know,
well, you probably want to do that to see if you're really getting your value out of it. But I just. It's one thing that upsets me, and Grok is the worst. Grok responds way faster than the others do, and so I have to tell it, wait 2 seconds before, wait till I'm done speaking for 2 seconds before you respond, and it never does it. It can't do it.
Mine does that automatically. Mine has a really good flow, actually. If you want, we can stop the recording and we can just do a quick role play. You can talk to it.
Okay, so let's go ahead and stop. Okay, everyone. Hopefully we didn't bore you with the sheer amount of AI stuff we talked about today, but we had fun. So comment. Subscribe,
like, tell your friends, whatever you want to do.
Tell us how we're wrong. Tell us about how we should be treating the flag. That we're totally wrong with it.
That's exactly right.
And we'll see y'all next week.
See ya.
Thanks.